Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It is I, Captain Logan, and taking DJ's place this evening, filling in for DJ, it's my son, Jayson. He's got a mod for us tonight. How's it going, buddy?
Good.
Are you excited to be back on the program?
Yes.
DJ is... Do you know why DJ's not on the show tonight?
No.
DJ's wife is currently in labor. She had to be induced this afternoon, I found out just a few hours ago, so DJ is not able to make it. So good luck and best wishes to he and his wife. This is going to be his second child. They're having a girl. They have a boy already, who I met back in December. He is adorable, and I'm very excited for them. So tonight, it's just going to be me and Jayson. So in the comments there, try to keep things as family-friendly as humanly possible. I mean, you know, Jayson can handle a lot, but don't take advantage of that. Don't get too far beyond the PG-13 sector, if you wouldn't mind.
I like when I paused.
You like when you oh, did you get an amusing face?
Yeah.
Jayson paused on this image. That's the image. All right, so tonight is another Ask Me Anything show. We are going to lead in chatting about the DC firings just briefly, and if you guys have follow-up questions about that, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it at the beginning because, frankly, I don't know a ton. I just know some of course, the names of folks that have been fired, and then there's been a whole lot of speculation about what exactly this means going forward for DC. It is a sad news and also really interesting news, and it's just hard to say where things are going moving forward and what it's going to mean. I dare say there could be some positive aspects to this, but I don't know for sure. So we're going to chat about it, and I really would love to hear from you guys in the comments about it. Welcome to everybody joining us live. Thanks for watching after the fact. If you're doing that instead, I see lots of folks in the comments already. There's Tank Gunner, Carl Maxey, William Parcell is here, Tim Drake is here, Gypsy Warrior. There is Dewan Patterson Powers. He popped in the other day and asked some questions. Good to see you. Lewis Cox is here. Hi there. I think it's been a while since I've seen you. There's good old Blue Dragon 5. Maybe I already mentioned him. He's always here. It's good to see you, buddy. Okay, so, and we had Blue Dragon 5 on the show a few weeks ago. I hope he comes back sometime. We had a great time with him and his co-host from So You Want to Be an Imagineer. We talked for a couple or more hours about animation. It was a really cool show. So anyway, like I said, ask me anything. If you want to make sure that your question or topic gets discussed on air, as always, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and we will make sure and tackle those. We are primarily funded by the viewers, so we sure appreciate anybody that helps us out in that monetary way, either by doing those or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/geekvolution. But we also, of course, appreciate you just popping in and hanging out with us and giving any care whatsoever to what I have to say about anything. It's still amazing to me that there is enough of an audience to even do this show, and you guys are wonderful, and I bow to you as I try to do every week. So thanks very much, everybody. So if you don't want to leave a super chat or you're not able to do that, of course, you can just leave a pre-written question, and we will get to as many of those as possible. Everybody take it easy on Jayson. He's not used to doing this, but you've had a little bit of experience at this.
I have.
At this point, so Jayson, I think will fill in really well and perform admirably at his duties. I am sure. I'm sure Jayson is bucking for DJ's job. Are you bucking for DJ's job?
Yeah, although I don't know what buck means, but I am not Bucky. But I don't really like Captain America either. I am a kid though. I am.
You don't like Captain America? What's wrong with Captain America?
He's too strong.
Oh, okay.
He's too fast.
Oh, okay. So you think he's overpowered? Like it's hard to get excited about him because you don't think anything can hurt him. Well, how do you feel about Superman then?
He's okay. Like he has laser eyes. That's why he's cool.
So,
Captain America doesn't have that.
He has laser eyes. He got the laser eyes.
But the reason that he's all strong and fast and stuff is because he is an alien. But Captain America just went from a machine and then his shirt fell off and he's like, ah, I can run fast.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
No,
not so much. So you're not a big super soldier fan. Now, do you like Superman better when we mix him with Captain America and make a character called Super Soldier?
Yes.
Because I know you've read that.
It's been a
Yeah, I know, it's been a long
really
time,
long
but-
time.
Yeah.
I remember that kid in the alleyway from DC and Marvel, but that's
Oh
all
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, remember that guy? Access.
Yeah,
I think was his name. Yeah. Well, anyway. All right, let's go ahead and start getting into stuff. We've got several super chats, and we will get to those in just a few minutes. We're going to start with the DC news. What's up?
So speaking of the super chats,
Yeah.
I can't go all the way up to see the first super chat.
Okay, I'll take care of it then, because I have them more readily available with my setup here. So I'll read the super chats. You can throw us the pre-written questions, if that works for you. So just find some stuff that you like. Make sure that you're scrolling all through and not just answering the most recent stuff or the stuff right at the beginning. And try to get as many different names as possible. Okay?
Okay.
So make sure if a lot of people are asking questions, we're not answering the same ones, or we're not answering questions from the same person over and over again, because people will ask multiple questions. You guys are great. Thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So we had some unfortunate news a couple of days ago. This comes from the Hollywood Reporter et al. I don't know who first broke this story. I'm not a journalist, so that's not a thing that I concern myself with too much, but it is a thing that is definitely going on. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. The majority of staff of the streaming service DC Universe has been laid off, as has editor-in-chief Bob Harris and multiple other executives on the publishing side. We've been speculating for a while now that DC Universe has got to be on its last legs, and it's very strange that when HBO Max launched that there was no kind of announcement or discussion or anything about how much longer that service was going to go. It seemed like they wanted us to continue to think that it was alive and well, and that makes me think that the folks at DC Universe weren't even told until a couple of days ago that they were about to get the axe, and you were, but who knows? There were obviously some signs that was going to happen, particularly shows starting to double stream at HBO Max and also still at DC Universe, and then like Harley Quinn and like Doom Patrol, and then you've got, and there's still been, by the way, no discussion about whether or not Titans is going to be moving over to HBO Max, but like surely that ends up happening. I guess unless it became a CW thing, like I guess is Stargirl supposed to go to CW, or is it just going to be continuing to stream on that app? I actually don't know for sure what's happening with that. I thought the announcement was that the next season of that was going to go over there. By the way, I'm jumping all over the place, but Stargirl season 1 just wrapped. People have said nice things about it. I watched the pilot and thought it had promise, but wasn't in love with it. A couple things about that show that kind of turned me off. I've not gone back to it, so I'm not going to promise a spoiler cast, but I'm intrigued enough I may sit down and try to binge that. There's just not enough binging hours in my day. So I mean, I'm so behind on spoiler cast. A million things I want to go in and watch and talk about at some point. I just haven't gotten to. So anyway, so this is not really a surprise on the DC Universe side. HBO Max, and the way this article reads, there is, and we don't know from who, but there is a source at DC, at Warner Media, that says DC Universe was DOA as soon as the AT&T merger happened. Again, that doesn't really surprise me. What's weird about it is that this didn't happen sooner, because HBO Max has been around now for, what, a couple of months now? Has it been that long? And so, anyway, so it looks like the future of DC Universe is more than in question. This article asks, as I have been, whether or not the comic side is going to stick around in some way, if DC Universe will get rebranded as just a comic streaming thing, and I'm really, really hoping so, because they've got most of the catalog, and it's wonderful, and I have been relying on it quite a bit for reviews, so I'm, I have a personal stake in this, of course. I'm really hoping that sticks around, but I, for years, even when I wasn't reading digital, thought that DC needed an answer to Marvel's digital streaming service, which is quite good and affordable, and, it's been, it was really impressive to me that DC Universe stuck at their $8 a month price tag when Marvel Unlimited was $10, and I think 10 is and that's only if you buy month to month. It's even cheaper if you buy a whole year. But I thought it was really cool that it's $2 cheaper, and there's shows you can stream. It's limited. There's not as much as there should be, but also they had original programming. all for $8. Like, it wasn't enough when it started, but for my money, being a comics fan and liking to read digital now on a tablet, that became one of my favorite services. It's not as good as a comic reader as Marvel's, but other than that, it was really cool that we had that, and so I'm a little bit worried that we're going to lose that, and I hope that they hang on to it. But it sounds to me like with the rest of this, AT&T is not interested in comics, and that's also not surprising. They want superheroes to get people's butts in seats for movies. Be that in the future in a movie theater or just on their streaming platform. Who knows what the future of movie theaters will hold, of course. But they are really hedging their bets, putting all their eggs in the Snyder Cut basket right now. And who they're losing, the head of DC, editor-in-chief Bob Harris, and they're losing, I'll just go ahead and read these real quick. They're losing Senior VP of Publishing Strategy and Support Services, Hank Canals, Vice President of Marketing and Creative Services, Jonah Weiland, VP Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy, Bobby Chase. Man, just imagine trying to tell people what you do for a living, reading that as your title. Senior Story Editor Brian Cunningham and Executive Editor Mark Doyle, who oversaw the rollout of the Black Label graphic novels. And Jim Lee remains the CCO. Now, I had heard a rumor that Jim Lee was actually getting demoted, but this would seem to suggest that he's not. So I don't know if there's any clout to that at all. But the most interesting in that list for me is the Black Label thing, because I had a conversation with Eric about this, and I don't know what his source was. I wish we had looked it up while we were talking, because maybe this is just a rumor he read. I'm not sure, so I have no source on this. But Eric said that he had read that the strategy with losing as many, and maybe there's another article about this that I couldn't find, but that in losing so much of the upper echelon of the comic side, of the editorial side, that moving forward, it was going to be about original graphic novels and not so much monthly. And so they're losing a lot of the people that they need to make the monthly comics happen. And he said what he had read was there would be some monthly offerings, but for the most part, it was going to be about original graphic novels. To which I responded, well, that might be the way of the future. I have been saying for a long time that a lot more people these days seem to be more interested in reading and trade. People seem to be overwhelmed by comics in general. It's hard to get people to commit to reading month to month with stuff, and that could make the medium more viable. I hate that these folks are losing their jobs, certainly, and it's not going to be good for comic shops, of course, especially right away. There's going to be a lot of, evolution that has to happen, especially if the rest of the industry starts to go this way and not just DC. There's already a lot of scrambling that comic shops are having to do in making things work, just with having to go with two distributors now, where DC has its own distributor and Marvel has theirs. And as I talked about a few weeks ago, it turns out that that's not the competition we all hoped it would be, because you still can only get your comics from each source. There's just a source that has DC, and then there's another source that has everything else. It's not like you get to pick and choose which of those things you go to. So comic shops are already having difficulty making all that happen. They're having to split their discount now, and so some of the comics are more expensive for them than they were before. So that's already a big difficulty for comic shops. And then you get this if that ends up happening. So I don't know how much truth there is to that they're going to go to more of a graphic novel format. But the reason I say that losing the guy in charge of Black Label is interesting is I would think that would be one of the big guys you'd want to hang on to if you were going to a mostly graphic novel format, because that's not monthly. That's several comics that were or basically graphic novels that were split into 3 or 4 pristine format, big 40, 50, 60 page offerings. And when I reviewed Harleen a couple weeks ago, I said that when you read it all together, so it was published in 3 big oversized issues, oversized both in longer than a 20 page count and also a larger book with bigger print, which is cool. I want to see more of that kind of thing happen too. But when you read all that together, it reads like Harley Quinn Earth 1. And I want more stuff like that, and I think it's more digestible for people. We have this binging mentality now where a lot of people want to sit down and read everything all together, and if it's offered that way in the first place, instead of 30, 40, 50 issues, and even that versus trade, and even if the graphic novels are sequels to each other, I think it could help get some new readers in potentially, or at least bring back some old readers, if indeed that is what's happening. So people are saying this looks like it spells the beginning of the end. It's certainly difficult not to see it that way. I totally get that. And so I'm not saying, yay, this is good, yay, these people got fired. Now, Bob Harras is, of course, not the greatest thing that ever happened to DC. He was certainly not the greatest thing that happened to Marvel back in the 90s, and really strange that they moved him over to DC during 52. Kind of odd, I thought, that he wasn't axed after what happened with 52. But to his credit, he helped herald in Rebirth, which was quite good, and especially at the beginning, and a lot of people loved, and it brought a lot of people back into DC, and he seemed to understand a lot of the mistakes they made, and he was it seemed like everybody there, including DiDio, who is, of course, also gone now, and including, or am I remembering different things wrong? I think that happened. And somebody tell me if I'm wrong about that. And then, including Jim Lee and everybody that was there, really humble about the mistakes with 52. Like, we get that we messed up in some ways. Not that everything in 52 was bad. And so, yeah, it's sad even to see him get fired after the kind of redemption story that ended up being. But anyway, so those are my initial thoughts on it. Jayson, if people have questions about that, I have, or any follow-up stuff, feel free to throw some of those at me. I don't know how much people are talking about this in the comics, because I decided to just kind of go on my spiel and not look at this as I was reading. Cyberbolt says no, Jim Lee actually got promoted. And yeah, so interesting. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I wasn't sure when Eric mentioned that to me. But yeah, so that is all the stuff right away I have to say about that. We can return back to that topic here in a little bit. Lewis Cox, yeah, Cap, that Harlan graphic novel was shockingly good, and maybe the second best origin for Harley. I think it's the best, but I also think that they're somewhat difficult to compare because it's pulling from different places. But yeah, I mean, like I said when I reviewed it, I was absolutely shocked by it. Somebody said that there's another Harley Quinn graphic novel from Black Label that came out around the same time, and I'm curious about it now, as good as that was. Connor, hi Connor. What's up, man? I'm not saying I'm excited guys got fired, but it's hard to not be excited for the future of DC now that DiDio and Harris are gone. Yeah, I'm conflicted. Yeah, it was Dan DiDio. Yeah, so what's up?
John Ty, Dan DiDio was one of the people that wanted the monthly model.
Yes, he was obsessed with keeping to the old status quo, and I sympathize with that to a degree because I love collecting singles. I mean, I've always been a big fan of singles. If Eric's right about what he saw, and again, if anybody can corroborate that, help me out. I like the idea of keeping a few. Like the big tentpole stuff. Like, yeah, have a monthly Bat book, have a monthly Superman book, but have some stuff, have a JLA book, but do stuff that works really well on an ongoing model that you can maybe, rotate in and out creative teams, and have the real, ongoing or like the real serialized stories that you can do in larger chunks, have those be where you keep a creative team. And I'm wondering if it could be like the streaming model, if that were to happen, where the stories get a little better, where it's not about keeping people. It's just like, it's just like broadcast versus streaming, right? Where the point with broadcast television is keeping people coming back week to week, and it's keeping people staying in their chairs at the commercial breaks. And it's also harder to keep shows on the air and hard. Now, obviously, there are shows that get canceled in streaming as well. I mean, it's got its own set of problems, but there are, one of the reasons that I think that we're in a golden age of television, or we have been for a while, is that you have a lot of shows where they're able to have shorter seasons and come up with a season all at once and have it all shot and filmed before you even start airing it. Now, lately we've been going back to some weekly models with streaming, so there's more variety now. It's getting complicated, but I think what has helped some of the storytelling for some of those things where you can tell more complete stories all at once could be really good for comics. Now, you've got problems with streaming. We keep having brilliant shows that end up getting bad and stay on. So that sucks. And sometimes you still have shows that get canceled, just like The Tick. So it's not a perfect metaphor, but you keep having these really strict 4-6 issue arcs where it's just about getting to the end of an arc, and they don't always get enough done in an arc. And sometimes you get runs where at the end it doesn't feel like you really got a complete story, or it gets rushed real hard at the end. Maybe you would have less of that with a straight-up graphic novel format. This is a thing that Eric and I have been talking about for a long time, that we would like to maybe see happen, where you go more for a season model. And so that could be good news if that were to happen. But I'm also very interested to see how the rest of the industry responds to this, because this is clearly an AT&T move, and Disney has not done this to Marvel, and they've had Marvel for over 10 years now. So you could have a very split industry now if that ends up happening, where you don't have very much coming out of DC, and also DC Direct is gone now too. I mean, like they're getting that was another part of that article. They're getting rid of a lot of DC merchandising stuff, their superhero side. And it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the industry does if we kind of just maintain the same status quo. Like, is Marvel going to keep making some of the same kind of mistakes they've been? Like, is DC going to have like 12 monthly books and Marvel is still going to have 60 to 80? It's going to be really curious to see what happens moving forward. We have a bunch of super chats. We have a bunch of pre-written. Jayson hasn't gotten to do very much yet, so let's go ahead and start getting the rest of the show on the road. Jayson, why don't you throw me like 2 pre-written questions, and then we'll start getting to some of the super chats.
Okay, so let's see. Draco Aris.
Hi there.
Who is Jayson's favorite superhero?
Oh, are you just going to read questions directed at you? Is that your whole plan?
No.
We're just going to hear
No.
Jayson questions. Okay,
No, because most people haven't done mine. So, for DC, it's Flash. For Marvel, it's Spider-Man. I don't know, like, what my actual, like, favorite superhero is. But, yeah.
Which is interesting because, especially in recent years, sometimes Flash starts seeming more like a Spider-Man-esque character. That was certainly the case early on in the CW, where he seemed like kind of a Peter Parker type character. And so it's interesting that you're really into both of those. Dan Torrey is also a big fan of both Spider-Man and Flash. But he likes the Wally West Flash, not the Barry Allen Flash. And I don't know if you have a dog in that fight, because I don't know if you've read very much, like, 80s, 90s Flash, but... Well, we'll make that happen. If you want to read some of that stuff. Okay.
I need to read Spider-Woman again.
Spider-Woman?
Yeah.
You read some Spider-Woman?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew you were reading some Marvel 2 Spider-Girl at some point. I reviewed the first trade of that.
It might have been
Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah. I don't know.
With Mayday Parker?
Yeah.
The daughter of Spider-Man?
Yeah.
That's not Spider-Woman. That's yeah.
I thought that was...
Yeah.
Okay, let me try to find that thing again. Did I? Oh, see, regular questions don't send me down, but super chats do.
Oh, super chats pop you down. Okay. Jayson doesn't have the setup that DJ has, where it's as easy for him to
I don't have a laptop,
actually archive. Yeah. Okay.
I have
so
a tablet.
What else you got? Why don't you throw me another question,
let's
and we'll do
see.
some super chats here.
Blue Dragon 5.
Yeah.
Cap. How would you run
Hi.
or save DC Comics and whip the divisions of comics, film, and TV back into shape in the current crisis?
Man, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right? Like, I certainly don't have all or necessarily any of the answers. I do think that the very first thing I would do were I in charge, and again, you know, you'd be at this very moment you're stuck with a business in shambles, right? Like they're not. I'm sure AT&T saw that as a liability and a big loss, and you know, it's not really raking any money, and so why hang on to it? The only reason they are probably keeping comics around even at all is to be advertisements for movies, and I hate that, and it's really sad if that's what's going on. So the first thing I would do is make sure that we're not doing that, that we're telling stories for people who may or may not give any crap at all about the movies, and that, you know, it's good stuff that works there occasionally. It's okay for it to influence the comics. I don't care that Star-Lord is now wearing his movie mask. It's a good mask. Like that's a thing I've heard Eric say. I agree with that, but I wouldn't want them to do what Marvel was doing a few years ago, where they would try to prime people for things they were gonna do in movies and like foreshadow movie stuff in comics, and then let the comic stuff influence the books too much. Give really talented, creative people characters. I mean, it's very simple, and let them tell really cool, fresh, hopefully new stories with them. I would secondly immediately and not keep on too much of a leash. The main thing editorial would be there for would be to make sure that all of the continuity makes sense and works out. Or let's not have continuity. So I would want to run it one of two ways. I would say, well, one of three ways, right? I would say either let's do just the graphic novel model, like we were talking about earlier, and let's have it all be like separate continuities, where like inside of a several graphic novel continuity, you can bring in any characters you want to, and you can kind of have like multiple sort of ultimate universes, at the same time, sort of like the Earth One thing, where, you know, Superman, each volume of that is in the same universe. It doesn't necessarily even match up with Batman. Or you have you do occasional, like we do right now, Elseworlds type stories. You have, you know, Black Label and things like that, where you have kind of off the beaten path things that don't have anything to do with anything else, that are their own continuities. But you also have one main continuity. And if we're going to have that, we're going to actually keep track of everything as best as we can. And one of the editorial's main jobs, besides making sure that there's not any misplaced commas and that sentences start with capital letters, is to make sure that if Batman is in, you know, Lithuania in this issue, it makes sense that he was able to get back to Gotham in time for this other issue to happen. We used to be really good at that kind of thing in the 70s and 80s in particular, especially at Marvel, but DC was pretty meticulous about it as well, and we don't care about that at all anymore. And if we're going to have continuity, let's have continuity. Or let's not have continuity, but let's no longer do the kind of stuff that we were doing a few years ago, where Batman loses Jayson, or not Jayson Todd, loses Damian Wayne. He dies, and of course you knew he was going to come right back, so let's also not do that kind of stuff if we can help it. But he loses Damian Wayne, and then he responds to it in 4 different ways in 4 different books. Like, in every book, he had a completely different reaction to that. Let's not do that anymore. And then the third way you could run it would be to have 2 universes, and maybe even also some Elseworlds type stuff, but do the ultimate model, where we do continue on with the current universe for anybody that's enjoying that and keep track of it as best as we can. And we also start over completely like Ultimate did. And do what 52 should have done in the first place. If it really wanted to be a reboot, let's be a reboot. You actually can have your cake and eat it too on this. You do it by keeping your mainline continuity and then completely starting over the other way. It was very successful early on with Ultimate. There's no reason not to do that. And this is a good point to interject this too. I had a conversation with Eric last night. I wish we'd been on camera, but we were just talking. I had some guys over for my birthday, and we were just chatting, and we were talking about how Vince was there, and he was talking about how he read a little bit of Bendis' Superman, and it's terrible. I'm like, yeah, isn't it terrible? And we were talking about what Bendis should have gotten when he went to DC. And I always said Superman was wrong for him, or at least, regular Superman stories. Like it should have been like street level Clark Kent investigative reporter stuff. I suggested maybe for Bendis you take Superman's powers away from him for a while and let it just be a Clark Kent book. But maybe, I don't know. But then I thought of this. Why didn't you just let him come over and do with some character or with the universe what he did with Spider-Man and reboot it and do an Ultimate DC universe? I think that's what you should have done with Bendis, and you still could. His Superman's not good. I've heard bad things about Event Leviathan, but I haven't read it, so I don't have a dog in that fight yet. I'm going to review that eventually. I got a request for that recently, so I'm going to review that. But I don't know if the issue is that he's just not any good right now, or that he's just not being given the right material. So that's kind of an aside. But those are some ways some ideas I would have if I were to come in and try to get more people into comics. So I would be more likely to go for that third idea. And then, like I said, the biggest thing is you just axe the number of books you have. You go down to, like, especially if you're doing a lot of graphic novels, you just go down to like 10 or 12 titles. And so I'm kind of hoping that's what they end up doing. Okay, Jayson, let's do a super chat, shall we? Lewis Cox, 15-pound super chat. Thanks, man. Do you know what pounds are? Mm-mm. That is the currency of Great Britain. And a lot of Europe. So 15...
1 pound is what?
I don't know what exactly the ratio is, but it's not quite $1. So, Lewis Cox, so Titans is moving to HBO Max. And that's the assumption we're all making. Like, surely that's the case. On their Facebook page, they've apparently taken off the DC Universal logo. So I mean, and they've not announced cancellation. Surely that's not getting canceled. Is DC Universe now kind of dead? I guess he left this before I talked about this. I did kind of talk about this. I hope DC as a company still exists after this. Also, if Disney were to buy DC, could Marvel and obviously DC reform to amalgam once more? Okay, so that sounds like an impossibility to me. They're not going to want to lose the IPs. The idea that the comics could at some point completely die and we aren't publishing any DC comics at with Warner's and AT&T as the parent company doesn't seem likely to me, but is not the most far-fetched thing. Like, if they continue to not perform after a lot of the cuts they make, could it eventually happen? I don't know. I think the backlash would be pretty real. I would think that they would want to hang on to something of that, just to continue to advertise movies. And I know that sounds weird because we know that there's not a direct correlation necessarily between comic sales and movies, but everybody knows these are comic things. So it just seems like it would be bad PR for them. They want you to keep going to the superhero movies, but they don't even make comics anymore. Isn't that weird? Like, I kind of don't see that ever happening. They would never sell Marvel to DC, or excuse me, DC to Marvel. It would never happen. Even if Snyder, and I don't say that lightly, like, these days, nothing surprises me. But, even if the Snyder Cut completely crashes and burns on HBO Max, they're still gonna, in the back of their minds, go, well, Batman was really popular at one point. Like, what are we doing wrong? There's gotta be something we've got a Batman movie coming out next year, if it finishes filming in time to come out in 2021. And those movies have not performed the way they want them to, but that doesn't mean that they don't still rake in the kind of money where you're not gonna want to get rid of those characters. I would love it if we could get something like Amalgam again, just because it could be done so much better, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I wish those companies would play nice together and just let that happen, as a mixed thing. I'll do another super chat, and then Jayson, I'll let you throw some more questions at me, buddy.
Okay.
And feel free to jump in at any point, Jayson, with any of this, if anything comes to you if you have any ideas about stuff.
I don't know anything about this whole DC thing, so yeah. I'm kind of I'm out.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. What would, just you as a reader, because I mean, you like comics, yeah, and you like reading about superheroes. What is, like, the main thing that you would want to see from a comic company to make you happy, to entice you to buy a book? Just for, like, whatever characters are, like, your favorite characters. Like, do you like ongoing month-to-month stuff, or would you prefer to read a thing all in trade, or like what kinds of things do comic companies have to do to make you go, I'm so excited about, or is it just the premise of a book?
So I kind of like reading trade. That's not how, I would want to read a book. Just to get me to read a book. Just if it's a thing that I like.
Yeah. Well, you get excited about crossovers.
And crossovers. And I also like miniseries.
Yeah. So how do you feel about runs? Like, would you prefer to read a thing that has a beginning, middle, and end that you can read in half an hour? Or are you cool with, I got to read 90 issues of a thing?
I'm cool with, I get to read, I have to read, 50 issues.
Okay.
Not, 90.
Okay. So you're not going to read IDW Ninja Turtles because it's just too long?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
No. I would read the Ninja Turtles.
Would you just take a break in between?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just read a few issues and then take a break and then...
William Parcell, $5 Super Chat. Do you think Marvel will take what's happening to DC as a warning to fix some of their many current issues? I don't think it takes the firings at DC for them to take a good hard look at themselves. I think the pandemic did that already. I think they have to be looking at their, again, sheer number of comics that are coming out, the numbers of their smaller books versus their bigger books, and the stuff that they're kind of touting up still as big deals that nobody's actually really buying, that they're trying to make you think that they are, and I will say it, and they're kind of pandering stuff. They're kind of making some books, not everything certainly. I still love what I read of Venom. I still love what I've read of current Spider-Man. Like, they've got good stuff over there certainly, but I've heard great things about their current Hulk series. But they also still have some books over there, from what I've heard, because I'm kind of disenfranchised and haven't been reading a whole lot lately. So I'm taking this, take this with a grain of salt, because this is all, kind of third party. But it seems like they still have that problem of putting out a lot of stuff that's kind of ideologically driven before anything, and maybe the stories they don't feel like have to be great because the message is more important, and they're not making sure that the stories and the characters are compelling. So it's more about just we're saying the right things for the audience that we think that will bring in, trying to fill in for some kind of a formula to get people to read, which is just turning a lot of people off. And I don't think that the audience that they think they're getting with those things is necessarily really there for them. But I don't think, the DC thing might help a little bit, but I think they've already got to be looking quite a bit at restructuring. Okay, so before we get to some more questions, let me mention, because I forgot to do this at the beginning, that as you see on your screen, if you're watching the show right now, tonight's top super chatter is going to get to pick a review for me and Jayson to do Jayson and I are going to do, Jayson doesn't know about this, but Jayson and I will do some kind of a how we felt about on either a comic thing or a movie thing. Does that sound like fun? Are you cool with that? And so you guys get to, I mean, I can take it off the screen if you don't want to do it. I didn't tell you about it. I thought I would surprise you with it. Is that cool?
I saw it.
Does that sound like fun?
Yeah. But I don't know what that whole top super chatter meant, so...
Yeah, so just whoever tonight donates the highest dollar amount is going to get to pick that. I like to occasionally do a super chat goal, and we're going to do one tonight for that. So that person's going to get to pick something for us to review. I'll answer this real quick. AMC Comics, worst Superman movie, 3 or 4? That is so debatable. It's real hard to say. 3 looks nicer than 4. 3 is more boring than 4. 4 is overall, I think, more entertaining than 3. I think I'd rather watch it over 3. But saying critically which is a better movie is kind of difficult. Kellen O'Rourke follow-up question, worst movie, Batman and Robin or Spider-Man 3? Again...
Batman and Robin.
I think Batman and Robin is technically the worst movie. I also think I'd rather watch it over Spider-Man 3.
I've never seen Spider-Man 3,
so you
I'm
don't
just
know.
Like, Batman and Robin, bad.
Well, welcome to Bryce is Right. That's not a name that I recognize, and I absolutely love your handle. Bryce is Right. Cap, have you been reading the Dawn of X stuff at Marvel at all? I have only read the epic lead-in, what I still call a masterpiece. I know it's divisive. Not everybody loves it, but that initial Jonathan Hickman piece to establish that status quo, House of X, Powers of 10, I think is just 8 shades of brilliant. I needed to read it twice before I could make heads or tails of some of it. And I may still not completely get everything, but Eric and I did a 1.5 to 2 hour discussion on that, so you can watch that on the Vault. I loved that. Eric told me yesterday that he's read the first issue of all of the follow-up monthlies to that. I think there's 4 or 5 of them, and he said he enjoyed every single one of them. So even the jokey one that he wasn't sure he'd like, he ended up enjoying. So I'm curious to look at those. I have not been reading those as they come out on time. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna go to Jayson and let him read some questions now. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I found 2 for me. So Dave Atkins, 1 for Jayson. That's me.
Yeah.
Least favorite video game console and why?
Ooh. You're gonna go to something really early that nobody knows about, right? Every time we go to worst video game stuff for Jayson, he just goes back to like, pre-Crash. So what is the worst video game console, Jayson?
So,
Actually, there's something else I think you might say.
Really?
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get to that one in a minute.
Go ahead. Okay, you know what I'm gonna say. All right, go ahead.
No, I don't know what
you're gonna get to that question. I thought you were gonna say the Gamecom. The Game.com.
That would be my least favorite video game console, but I haven't played it.
Oh, so that's something you've played?
Well, if it's like favorite, least favorite, I kind of want it to be something that I've actually
the kid's got integrity. Listen to that.
So, actually,
of game systems you've played then, because the thing is, I don't keep around a lot of duds, really. Like, most of the stuff I've got are decent systems.
So, I think the first one off the top of my head is the Genesis plug-and-play system.
The at-games? Yeah. Sure. If third-party crap like that counts, yeah, absolutely. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Stay away from those. Buy branded now Genesis Mini. They're quite good.
Yeah.
The controllers are awesome.
Yeah.
They did a great job on that.
The controllers are bad on the at-games one because they don't work. Because they don't do like the Bluetooth or whatever. They do like and then
the music is and the sound effects are all off and wrong.
Yeah,
and then everything sounds hyped up a third.
And then the stuff that's not Genesis games are just like math games. And who would want to play tic-tac-toe if you also have Sonic?
Yeah. All right. Throw me another question, kid.
Okay.
And then I will get back to super chats.
Let's see. Philip Kelton. Jayson. Yes.
Oh, Jason's just answering Jayson questions.
How you like more? Read a comic book, watch a cartoon, or play a video game?
Hey, good question.
So, I like all of those things. For read a comic book, I like to read comic books when I'm actually like wanting to read a series. I don't just pick up a random comic book.
Oh, okay.
Very
different from how I was when I was a kid. But that's weird because you like buying random issues. You like picking up stuff based on a cover.
Yeah, but that's based on stuff that I like already. If it's like a first issue of something or something that I've read some of already, I'll pick that up.
That makes sense.
But if it's just some random thing that I don't know anything about, I don't really do that.
Okay.
So I like sticking to like series.
So is the answer watch a cartoon?
Maybe.
Like if you have to pick between those three.
Watching a cartoon it depends on if I'm in the mood for the cartoon, and it depends on the cartoon.
But I guess he's just saying, like, medium-wise, do you have a favorite medium where, like, just the medium itself, you go, like, I love watching a lot of cartoons, or I love playing a lot of video games, I love reading a lot of comics. Like, it sounds like what you're saying maybe is I just like different things in different mediums, and it depends on what my mood is.
Yeah, but if it were, like, my favorite thing to do, like, I like playing video games, but I'm not good at them. I play the second level, I get game overs, like, 5 times, I turn the system off, and I just research it.
Yeah, because I know you much prefer reading about video games than playing them.
Yeah, because Freddy's the person that would teach you how to play a video game.
Jason's brother, Freddy, is 5 years old, and he's like a video game prodigy. It's kind of crazy what he can do.
He beat Donkey Kong Country
and that sounds
Tropical
real braggy
Freeze.
As a dad, but like there's stuff I can't play him. Like I can't play him at Mario Tennis. I just
can't play him
won't
at
play it with him.
Smash.
I mean, I will, but I'm gonna lose every time.
I can't play him. I won't play him at Smash.
And yeah, he beat Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, he beat Tropical Freeze. He's on the last level of Yoshi's Woolly World,
which is not a hard game, but he's 5 and he's done it in like 3 days.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's also on like if he's like having troubles like really with a level, and he did this like a few times. He didn't do this with like every single level. He can spend 2,000 points, and he unlocks this later in the game. But he can spend 2,000 points to just beat the game. Not beat the game.
Oh, well, that's like cheating, though.
But
is he doing that?
On like 2 levels. He did that on like the hardest level.
But I know Freddy, what he'll do is he'll do that so he can advance to the next game, to the next level. The next time he plays that game, he won't have to do that.
Right.
He'll go through that level and he'll be able to play it. Well, anyway, we digress. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back to the super chats now. Jayson, Gooster123, $10 super chat. Thanks so much. And that's a name I also don't immediately recognize. So if you've been in the comments before and I just didn't notice your name, it's good to see it, and please excuse that, but if you've just been lurking, it's very cool to have you. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. finale was amazing. I forgot that aired. If you've seen it, thoughts? If not, I recommend giving the series a go, Cap. The last season especially hit some very Star Trek notes. Love the channel. I'm curious about it. It just got really boring for me in the middle, and it always was draggy and kind of slow. And the big thing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you loved it at the beginning when you were younger.
Yeah.
Like I know when you were 4 or 5, you were obsessed with that show.
Oh,
but,
really?
Yeah, you may not remember, but when you were younger, you just loved that show.
I should probably watch that then.
Yeah, I mean you might still really like it. But anyway, it always had this weird issue for me, and it's got ebbs and flows, right? Like, it's got different places where it picks up more, and, like, the end of first season, I think, is awesome. But it always had this weird thing where it was always really well written, but I kept finding myself saying, so what about that? Like, you'd get to the climax of a story, and I'd go, okay, like, that's all you got? It just very often never felt, it just wasn't very compelling to me. It never, and I don't even want to say it wasn't creative, because it would have some cool ideas here and there, but something about it was just, like, mega dull. I could never quite put my finger on it. And then they did the Ghost Rider season, and I watched a couple episodes of that, and it seemed really cool, and I just didn't get around to finishing it. And then I guess the second half of that season was LMD, and they made that, the life model decoys, and they made that like a whole half a season, and I was like, that seems kind of lame. I wonder what that's like. And I know they went to space after that, and so I mean, I've been curious, and the big one-off space episode they did early on, was it second or third season, was Bossa Nova, the episode with Simmons, where she's got her cell phone with the big battery. That episode's really cool. And nice production values. So I am curious to know how they finally ended that, and I'm hoping that the more, like, I just lost interest, but I'm hoping that the more it delved away from MCU and they realized more and more that those two things weren't really going to speak to each other too much, the more it would just kind of be able to go its own way and have more fun with stuff and start feeling more like an actual S.H.I.E.L.D. show. But I haven't talked to anybody that's watched it, so I don't know what it ends up being like later. So yeah, I'm curious. I don't think that's a show that I would just sit down and watch the finale of. because I'm curious enough that I kind of would not want that spoiled for me if I decide to go back to where I was and start watching again. So that's going to be, I mean, maybe if I hear from, like, let me know, guys, like, maybe from people that have watched it, maybe if I hear that, you know, the LMD stuff wasn't great, but then the season after that's really good, and you don't really have to have that season to keep watching, I might consider doing that. Like, the stuff with, I don't know, once Skye kind of became an antagonist, I was like, I don't really care. This guy whose name is actually something else and it's not coming to me right now. I'm like, oh, I don't really care about that. And I guess she must have joined the team again later, so maybe that gets back. I don't know. They kept adding characters I loved and then killing them very quickly, or they just writing them out really easily, and I didn't like that. So anyway, let's do another super chat. We've got thank you very much for the super chat. 590 ERS 199 super chat. What do you think of Alex Ross and his artwork?
Who the heck is Alex
well, I don't know
Ross?
Alex Ross personally, so I don't know how I feel about
Alice Rocks.
not Alice Rocks. I have no opinions about Alice Rocks. Alex Ross is a great artist. He's some people don't love him because he's kind of too flashy for them, or a lot of people don't care for the fact that he takes a lot of like photo or like he takes a lot of kind of models for his photos and does a lot of copying, but it's like he's not tracing. He just has a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just photo reference, and he does that in order to make stuff look very photorealistic. I think it's great for covers, and I say that, I mean, I like a lot of his interiors too. I guess I am an Alex Ross fan at the end of the day. I get why some people aren't the biggest fan of that, but it blew me away when I was a kid, and I still have some nostalgia for it, and I'm never not awed by that. I love his work on that late 90s Space Ghost book, of all things. Crazy that he did that, and then his interiors on both Marvels and Kingdom Come are gorgeous. So yeah, no, I like Alex Ross a lot. These days he mostly just does covers, and I don't know if he's still doing this, but for a while it seemed like he did a cover for every issue Dynamite published. I think Dynamite it was kind of nuts, but yeah, I like his artwork a lot. I don't know anything about the man. I've never listened to Alex Ross interviewed. I don't think. I don't really know a lot about him personally, but I get why he continues to be very popular, and why he's kind of the go-to guy for photorealistic and just making iconic characters look really iconic. Jayson, throw me a couple pre-written questions, buddy.
Okay, Brutality, Geek Evolution, The New Generation. Who should return to play Superman on the big screen? Henry Cavill or Brandon Routh?
Brandon Routh. Okay, so I'm not saying that because that's my answer. I'm just correcting Jayson. It's Brandon Routh. Definitely Cavill. Brandon Routh. I'm with everybody else that kind of liked what he did with Kingdom Come Superman. Going back to Kingdom Come again, in the Crisis event, that was one of the few cool things about that. So it was neat to kind of get to see him return to that and do. And by Kingdom Come Superman, what I actually mean is kind of this weird amalgamation of that and his Superman, because it actually was that it was supposed to be that universe, that kind of pseudo Christopher Reeve universe, and the future of it, which was oddly satisfying. Like, it was a weird idea. It was kind of neat they did that. So I sort of feel like I've gotten what I needed from Routh. If we brought him back again, it would feel like a weird stunt at this point. I just don't think he's right for Superman now. So I want something closer to the Christopher Reeve Superman, only in values and tone, right? I don't need everybody that plays Superman to be trying to do a Christopher Reeve. Now, he was hired to do that because it was supposed to sort of be in that continuity. It was like a soft reboot thing. It was very awkward. Cavill is perfect for a modern Superman. But what he's gotten to play so far has been, just like Star Trek Discovery, not in the right spirit of the piece, of the character. And so he needs his shot at actually playing Superman. So yeah, that is definitely my answer. Yeah, what's up?
First I'll ask this
Yeah.
question. So William Parcell. what do you think will happen to comic book prices going forward?
Boy, that's a great
I need
question.
to go to the bathroom.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute, Jayson.
Bye.
Next time, go before we start the show. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure. I'll tell you what I think should happen. What needs to happen is they need to drop in price so that if comic companies are going to continue to try to get you to buy a lot of what's in their stable, and if their books are going to continue to interconnect very much, and you're going to continue to feel really duped and cheated if you're led to believe that you need this $5 issue that actually doesn't really inform very much of the other stuff that you're reading, and that happens all the time. We are more and more pushing the price tag to $5. I have now purchased some things recently that are a normal 22 page comic book. There's nothing special about it. It's not a special cover. It's not oversized. It's not anything that is just $5. So we are more and more trying to get to that being the norm and acclimate comic readers to that. And we continue to just sell to the people that are there already and pushing some of them away. I'm not the only person that's disenfranchised. I know a lot of people that don't buy comics anymore that were buying them like crazy just a few years ago. And it's not just, it's not just kids or young adults getting older and deciding they don't care about the medium anymore. It's guys like me that are passionate about comics as a storytelling medium that have just lost interest in the commercial stuff. And I'm a mainstream guy. I love the commercial stuff when it's done well. And I think $5 is too steep. I thought $4 was too steep. A lot of forced inflation. They don't need to be that expensive. And they do with the current model because they haven't been able to do anything to bring in new readers. And again, it's difficult to say what exactly that is, but you at least don't want to push people away. I think at some point you need to draw a line, like DC pretended like they were going to do for 6 months in 2011 when they drew the line at $2.99. Clearly, they did that because people were complaining about prices going up. And the industry on the whole has said, they need to be $5, or we've got to get closer and closer to magazine prices, or we're not going to be able to sell these things. So I think, realistically, to save the industry, it's going to go to more graphic novels, just like Eric suggested might be happening at DC. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot easier to get away with higher prices. You're going to have more material, of course, but, you sell $15, $20 books, and you get more bang for your buck, and it's a lot harder for people to complain about that, especially if it all feels like it matters. And you're not going to have as much random, pointless one-off stuff that you pretend like is really important and matters. So that's what I'm kind of hoping ends up happening. And then with monthly stuff, I guess you can more get away with $5 if you don't have as many books, but I'd still like to see us go back to $4. It's at least stay at $4. I'd much rather us go back to $3 personally, but I don't think it ever made sense to get any higher than that. But that is just my opinion. Okay, welcome back, Jayson. So now
I have crazy hair.
TH1, hi Tom, $5 super chat. Today is my son Jayson's 7th birthday. What was happy birthday to your son, Jayson? What was your favorite birthday that you got on your guys' 6th birthday? He must mean present. You are awesome. Thanks, man. Also, happy late birthday, Cap. Yeah, thanks, buddy, for all of that. I really appreciate it. So, what was your favorite present you got on your 6th birthday? Well, I can't begin to tell you what presents I got exactly on what birthdays. I will say that around that time, I got the 89 Batcave. And that's probably my answer. I'm pretty sure that was a birthday present. It might have been a Christmas present. I think that was a birthday present. And that was a really neat cave. I wish I still have it. I hung on to it for a long, long time. But then I was missing a couple pieces, I think, and it was kind of falling apart. So I finally got rid of it. But I think that's my answer. What's yours, Jayson? What's a great present from when you were younger?
Well, I know.
Yeah.
But from actually when I was 6.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't as long ago for you. What was it?
So, I got money.
My favorite present at 6 years old was cold hard cash.
No, No.
That's the best.
No, I got money. And I spent that money.
Oh.
No, I don't still have that money. I spent that money.
Was this when we went to Morphicon?
No.
Okay. Because that was when you were 6, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I spent that money.
Yeah.
To the money that I got for my birthday to get a Nintendo 2DS. And with
that's
it
right.
Was Mario Kart 7 and Mega Man Legacy Collection.
That was pretty special for you. Yeah.
And
that money went a long way, too.
Yeah. And I got Mario Kart Super Circuit.
For the GBA.
Yes.
That was a cool year for you, just with stuff getting, because that was also the year. Was that not also the year that we went on 64? Or was that the year before?
I think
when I took you to 64 Galore, maybe it was the year before, where you had saved up a bunch of money and then you bought some video games on that trip and yeah.
Oh, and a Stormtrooper mask.
I remember that.
Bro,
yeah, you were. Well, it wasn't a very.
2 weeks after that.
It was flimsy. Yeah.
Okay,
Jayson, I'm gonna do another super chat, and then would you go back to pre-written for me?
Yeah.
It looks like I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And what was really cool about Mario Kart Super Circuit
9, 10.
was if another person didn't have that game, you could still play it.
14 super chats. We're going to start having to blow through these. So this is probably going to be a 2-hour show tonight. I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen, but I had to do counting.
So basically,
yeah.
If another person had a Game Boy Advance, but they didn't have Mario Kart Super Circuit, then if you had Mario Kart Super Circuit and a Game Boy Advance cord for the multiplayer, you could actually play it multiplayer. You just couldn't have a card, the game card in the other person's GBA that doesn't have his game, and then everyone would play as Yoshi, and
that's so weird. I don't know what it is with Nintendo and going, yeah, you can play multiplayer, but if you're the second, third, and beyond, y'all have to be the same character, because they did that with New Super Mario Brothers, also with Toad. It's ridiculous. Why can't you be other guy? I don't understand that. Anyway, let's move on, Jayson. John Tyfe.
No, that's...
What?
But...
What? You don't agree?
No, because with New Super Mario
Why can't you be Peach? I'm not talking about on the DS. I'm talking about when it went to Wii and you had multiplayer all on screen. Why are the other two players Toad?
Because they didn't have any other characters at that time.
There are so many characters in Mario that you could have programmed into the game, Jayson. Why do they have to be Toads? You're never going to convince me that that's not super lazy for no reason.
Well, Peach is the person that you're, saving. So you can't have Peach as playable character.
Why not? It's multiplayer. Who cares?
Because you're saving Peach?
Make it Daisy. Daisy can go help save Peach.
Daisy was Luigi's crush at the time.
Dude, I don't care about story stuff in Mario. Give me some other sprites that aren't all Toads.
Okay.
Anything. Okay, we need to move on.
Did anyone like Wario at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, people were huge fans of Wario, including your mom. It wasn't... Look, I know that was your whole lifetime ago, but Wario was popular well before 2010, okay? Anyway, John Ty, $5 super chat. With the layoffs, does the Big Two need to put out new comics to stay in the cultural zeitgeist? It's a good question. I mean, so for the idea of reading comics to remain relevant, which might sound silly, but there's just... in general, not as many people read anymore, and the art forms that people think of, unfortunately, as most legitimate are screen, visual things. Comics are also visual, but like movies and television. So yeah, I mean, I think you do have to keep putting out material. I would hate for that to stop. I think it would be a really big deal if you shut down, if you did what we pretended like we were doing, or did actually for a minute with Superman, where we shut down the books for a minute and then we brought them back, after Death of Superman, and did World Without Superman. we did Funeral for a Friend. I think it would be interesting to see DC shut down completely. This wouldn't happen, I don't think, if HBO's plan, or excuse me, if AT&T's plan isn't, eventually, we don't care about comics. We're just going to shut down that whole arm. I really don't think that will happen. I really don't. I could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, I'm not great at predicting stuff because the world is crazy now. Like, who knows? I don't think that will happen. But I do think that it might be not a bad idea to shut down for a few months and then have this kind of like you don't know what you're missing until you don't have it anymore kind of attitude. But yes, I do think they need to put out new material to stay culturally relevant. Jayson, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do one more super chat and then we'll go back to pre-written because we have so many at the moment.
I mean, we have like 21 now. So.
William. Surely not. Were there 6 more just as I was talking? Super chats? Was it that many? Surely not. Okay.
There's like 3.
William Purcell, $5. Okay, but you need to get better at math because
I thought you said
21
19.
minus 14. Okay. William Parcell, $5 super chat. Do you think long-term Disney and Warner Brothers could completely shut down Marvel and DC and just license out the characters? No, I don't. Well. Okay, that you're giving me pause for a minute because what you're saying is they still would have the rights to the characters, but they would license them to other companies to make things. I want to be open-minded enough to say anything is possible, I guess, because my knee-jerk reaction is the same that a lot of people had when I suggested that movie theaters could be going the way of the dinosaurs much more quickly than we thought, which is I can't imagine a world without movie theaters. Surely that's not going to happen. And I'm not saying that we'll ever get to a point where there's no movie theaters at all, but where that's not the main model for how studios are making money with movies. I think we're heading in that direction. With this, that was my knee-jerk reaction. Is like they've always been at these companies. Surely they wouldn't outsource them and allow other people to make comics while they're making movies. If they thought that for some reason there was more money in it that way, and maybe just because it would be cheaper because they wouldn't have to, keep an arm running. If they said, okay, there are these companies that don't have parent companies, right? Like IDW, like Boom, that are just comic companies, and for comic companies, they're doing as well as you can expect them to. Maybe we'll just, like Disney used to outsource their cartoon characters to different studios. And even as they got bought out by Marvel, they continued to do that some. And before that, they were doing that. So you had Kaboom, which I'm still fuzzy on whether that's the same company as Boom, but they were publishing the DuckTales comics, which were really good and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess it's possible. Down the road, I would have never thought of that. Like, you kind of broke my brain with that. I wouldn't think anytime in the near future. And again, people saying that, these layoffs spell the beginning of the end of those companies entirely. I don't know about that. There is, again, a big, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but there's a big transition period you could have before that happened. The first thing you do is you mostly get rid of monthly comics and you try a different format, I would think. The fact that they didn't just, straight up shut down entirely makes me think they want to try something. But I can't be sure, certainly. Okay, Jayson, why don't you throw me a couple of pre-written questions and then we'll get right back to the super chats.
Okay. Yeah, that's like, is there ever going to be a Mario game on the PS4? Probably not, but anything could happen. I mean, we say...
Well, no, it's a completely different sort of thing. Nintendo's not in the toilet and in bad shape. Like, no, there's no reason that... I mean, are you saying that at some point in its history we could get to where Nintendo's not making hardware? That's the only reason they'd ever have a Mario game on the PS4.
Yeah, and that's...
Especially given the bad blood between those two companies. But anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Okay.
Jayson, you're supposed to grab me something while I'm talking. I had like 7 minutes to find something. Okay, I'm gonna go do another super chat while you're looking then, because we've got so much to do here. You gotta find me a question, buddy. All right, so Jay Forever King, he's learning. Jay Forever King, $4.99 super chat. Will this pandemic accidentally kill the superhero movie? I keep getting the feeling we are at the end of this fad. It is so complicated and interesting. It is impossible to say. I have had the very same thought. I don't think that it will kill the superhero as a thing people want material from yet. It's crazy how long that has endured and hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. If there were movie theaters open right now and you had Wonder Woman 1984 playing, I'm sure it would still do really big guns. As long as people felt comfortable enough to go to a movie theater. I think formats can change. So like, and I'm not saying that we couldn't see it start to dwindle a little bit, where it doesn't continue to be the big cash cow that Hollywood perceives it as, and that it's all anybody seems to be making. I think the end of the big $200 million tentpole superhero movie could be on the horizon, because I think the end of blockbusters could be on the horizon. That being the main blockbuster that makes money, it would ruin that if that were to be the case, if I was right about that. It's all going to depend on, I think, format and what's the word I'm looking for? Just TV versus movies, streaming services. I think you're still going to see a lot of superhero stuff coming to what is now the equivalent of home video and television, certainly, because a lot of that stuff has continued to be popular, relatively within these different platforms. So I don't think we're seeing superhero fatigue the way people were predicting we would by now, and I don't think that the virus is creating that. I just think that the way Hollywood's able to make money is, or decides they want to, maybe they decide to cut out the middleman. I think could be really shifting. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But I think those shows, when they finally come to Disney Plus, are going to do really, really well. At all. Okay, Jayson, you got something for me?
Yeah.
All right. What's up?
Okay, William Parcell.
Hi there.
When movie theaters finally die, how do you think it'll affect the big streaming services?
Well, it's again, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm taking a test I haven't studied for. Like, I think we're going to have a really, really rocky period where every company is going to be working really hard to figure out what the right model is. Right now, what you're seeing with new movies that aren't going to theaters is we're trying to make up for lost revenue by charging a lot up front. And not just lost revenue. We do this with brand new movies that, even before the pandemic, where you would drop simultaneous in the theater and also on another platform. Like, sometimes you'd get a thing on Netflix that you could just watch with a Netflix subscription. We didn't have this ridiculous thing that Disney Plus is trying to do, which I think, unfortunately, is probably going to be successful and possibly be a big model for a lot of companies moving forward, of this like premiere thing of you pay a bunch of money on top of a service you're already paying for. I don't like that they're trying that, but anyway, so right now the model is you have to pay a premium to watch something brand new just when it comes out. Will that continue to be the model moving forward if we get to a place where we're not putting things in theaters as much, where that's not the main way that we're making money? Will we make more things directly for streaming services and hope that we are making enough to support those movies, just like we are with TV shows, with places like Netflix, Disney Plus, et cetera, and just that be the model in the first place, so that it's just about gaining subscribers before it's about getting anything up front? I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it can only be good for those services because they're probably going to get those movies a little faster, maybe. I would think, but I don't know. I wouldn't think that there would be as long of a gap between those things appearing on streaming services and home video, from the theater, because we're not trying to get people to leave their homes and go see a thing. I wouldn't think it would take as long. So that's a great question. And I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that. Tom, $5 super chat. Thanks again, man. My town recently got a Burger King back after over 10 years. I had forgotten how good Burger King smells. What fast food do you think smells the best? Not Subway, although that's gotten better. We've lost Jayson. Of the 50 things he thought might come up, that was not one of them. I think Burger King is up there. I think this is more like a fast casual thing, but I'm going to count it for my purposes here. When we're talking burger places, I think the best smell when you walk in is probably Five Guys.
That's what I was going to say.
Also, Chipotle makes me happy. But again, that's fast casual for its fast food. What do you think is the best smelling?
No, it's real food.
Oh.
Real food deserves real drink.
Yeah, should we try those tractor drinks after we've seen that commercial 6,000 times?
Oh my gosh, Amazon does not do well with ads. When I describe,
well, it's not actually Amazon. It's IMDb TV through Amazon, which you can watch for free, but with commercials. That's how Jayson and I've been watching through Lost. I've been showing him that show. If I had to describe tractor drinks, I would describe it as the best drink you've ever had. Anyway, I digress. What do you think is the best smelling fast food place, Jayson?
Five Guys.
But like actual fast food. Like, is it McDonald's? Is it Burger King? Is it Chick-fil-A?
Probably Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. That's a good contender. Okay. Interesting question. Philip Kelton, $50 in MX, and is that the Mexican dollar? Which is worth significantly less than the American dollar. But thank you very much.
Said what it was, but I
think that's the Mexican dollar. Yeah. Well, thanks for the super chat.
I think MX is not Mexican. I think the X. I saw somewhere that X was like somewhere. Someone said that like X said was something else.
Yeah. We'll look into it later. It's not important. Thanks for the super chat, Jayson. What do you like more? Oh, we already did that. What do you like more? Read a comic, watch a cartoon, or play a video game? I guess he put it in both places. Because that was a pre-written question, was it not? Okay, all right. Well, we already did that. So there you go. Thanks, man. Back Studios, $1.99 super chat. Is there cause for concern that digital DC Comics will die? I think there's cause for concern that we're going to lose... I hope not, man. I think there's reason to be worried that we could lose the database we currently have on DC Universe, and that might not go to something. Because for years, they didn't have a catalog. I shouldn't have said database, catalog like that to go up against Marvel. And the only way you could really read digital DC Comics was on Comixology, and it was much, much more limited. I don't think over this we're going to lose digital DC Comics in general. I don't know. If they're publishing books at all, and at the moment it looks like they're going to be, I can't believe we're having this conversation. It's interesting. Boy, I hope it's not it doesn't ultimately end up being as depressing as it sounds. I think there could be good things happening with this, but I don't trust AT&T, so I don't know. But I digress. Man, I'm feeling funky about this whole thing. But if they're publishing anything at all, I would think that at least they would still have stuff on Comixology that you could buy, and that they would keep their back catalog there. But man, I hope that sticks around as its own thing when DC Universe is gone. Azim, welcome, man. Good to see you, buddy. $4.99. What narrative work marred by an underserved reputation, good or bad, perturbs you the most? Oh my goodness. Boosh. You might have stumped me with this. What narrative work marred by an underserved reputation? Okay, so narrative in any way, movie, book, comic, whatever it is that people don't know about, even if it's bad, but even if it's good, annoys me the most. So just something that people should know about that they don't. Oh man. I mean, immediately my mind goes to TV shows that I wish had been popular enough that nobody talked about to stay on. Things like the 4400, which had a small fan base, but it couldn't stay on. this is going to sound like the obvious answer for a lot of people, but I think this actually is my legitimate answer. Do you know what I'm going to say? Now that I've thought about it, this is going to be the obvious answer. You know what it is? It's the Tick. How does the Tick not have a bigger fan base than it has? How is that? How is it? How do you have a thing like that that remains as underground and nobody seems to, or a lot of people don't seem to care about, but has had 3 TV shows? I guess the answer to that is Ben Edlund is a TV executive and good at getting things made, but not keeping them on. I guess part of it is Ben Edlund, but man, that is the coolest, like, bittersweet success story of all time, where this guy keeps getting a show on the air 3 times, and all 3 of them are great in their various ways, and I just cannot keep them around. It's like, based on a completely underground thing that's published not even by a comic publishing company, but by a retailer, that starts off as a newsletter and not even a comic book. It's crazy, and it is some of the smartest satire there's ever been, especially about comics and superheroes. I mean, I just, as everybody knows, I just adore it. Even worse is that we can't keep it in comics, and that we can't keep good comics going. Nothing against Cullen Bunn. I have liked a lot of things that he's done. I've talked to Cullen Bunn. He's a cool guy. I don't think he knew what to do with the Tick. And he got 4 issues, and then that book was over. Now, I don't know if that was supposed to just be a 4-issue miniseries stretched across 8 months, but it was done after that, and I read 2 issues and then didn't like it. And we haven't tried anything since then. And I can't remember his name, but the guy that was, it's on the top of my head. It's like right there. Benitos Serenos, is that his name? I can't remember. The guy that was writing the Tick back in the early 2010s. I've interviewed him too, and he's awesome. I should see if I can talk to him again at some point, because we really hit it off. He's a They Might Be Giants fan. That was a lot of fun. But anyway, we had some decent Tick comics early on when I started reading comics monthly again, and we just haven't brought him back since Bun, and that stuff wasn't great. So yeah, I don't know. So that sucks. But yeah, it is very weird that is not more popular than it is. Or maybe I just have like really specific eclectic taste. How is Hitchhiker still as well known and popular and beloved as it is, but the Tick does not have anything close to that reputation? The people that love it. But anyway, yeah. So I guess that's my answer. All right, Jason. Obvious, but it is for me the true answer. Okay, Jason, I'm gonna do one more super chat then, and you find me something. All right.
I found.
Oh, well then go right ahead, man.
You can do that.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. Azim, thanks for that question. That was cool.
Okay. So James.
Oh, that's my real name with a Y. Can I tell this story for a minute? Just real quick. Somebody a few weeks ago, when I mentioned that my real name, so Logan is actually my middle name. I've commandeered that from the middle of my name for years and years. Call myself Captain Logan online. Why? I don't know. I thought it sounded cool. And I was running a Star Trek club at the time. I thought it would be fun to pretentiously call myself Captain. And so somebody in the comments after I said my real name, what's the matter?
Nothing.
We got bugs in here or something? What's going on?
No, I was just looking at posters.
There is a lot to look at in this room, yeah. So somebody goes, somebody was surprised that when I said my real name was James. Like, yeah, and it's spelled weird too. It's James spelled with a Y. And somebody in the live comments I saw later wrote, wouldn't that be Jamesy? They thought the Y was at the end. I was like, no, it's Jaymes. It's not Jamesy. When I was in junior high, we had a substitute teacher once that was reading down the roster, and they're reading everybody's names. You know, Sarah here. You know, Bill here. They get to. I didn't go to class with a Bill or a Sarah, I don't think. And then they get to me, Jameis. It's just not that hard. Anyway, okay, so go ahead. Nothing against the guy that wrote that comment, because I did not say where the Y went in James. I mean, that's totally fair. It's like, is it a silent Y? All right, so what's the question?
Gypsy Warrior
who is this? Is Gypsy Warrior calling me James?
No.
Look, it's Captain Logan to you, okay? Wait.
So, Gypsy
Who is-
Warrior says, Cap, stop interrupting Jayson.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jason. I do that to DJ, too. I mean, it's my show. My name's in the title.
James, thoughts on the Rocksteady Suicide Squad game?
Oh, wait, is James the person asking the question?
Yes.
Oh, see, I wasn't looking at it. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's my fault. Thoughts on...
Wait.
Thoughts on the Rocksteady Suicide Squad? I haven't looked deeply into that. I just know it's a thing that's happening. I saw there was some kind of a teaser poster, or was there a trailer or something? Somebody mentioned there was something. I've not looked at it yet, so I apologize. I don't have anything to say about that right now. So I will find out more, or if somebody wants to give me some information during the show, I'll respond to it. But I don't know anything right now. I just know that project's happening. Do you have another question? Mm-hmm. I won't interrupt you this time. I promise. Go ahead.
Okay, Mutale. Who is more psychologically damaged character? Arthur Fleck or Ang Lee Bruce Banner?
Oh, wow. That's tough. I would say Fleck, just because Bruce Banner is not a crazy person. He is certainly psychologically scarred. Definitely, but he's not at the end of the day a straight up bad person or even a completely unhinged person. That would be his father. Now, if I had to pick between those characters, which is an interesting conversation to have, the 2003 Hulk from that movie, or Arthur Fleck from Joker, that is harder to say, certainly. And what would the Joker do with the weird, whatever, electro powers he had in the water? I don't know, because I don't know what's happening in that scene. Azim, 499 Super Chat. Oh, yeah, he mentions, that's the Mexican peso. Okay, it's the equivalent of 225. Well, thank you for the 225 Super Chat. 559 0 ERS, $1 Super Chat. Do you prefer trade paperbacks or hardcovers? I think generally hardcovers. I think if I could buy everything in a hardcover, I probably would do it that way. Now, if you're talking about for comics, it gets weirder because it would depend on the size of it. Like, some things I don't love in hardcover because they're just kind of more unwieldy and hard to deal with. But when you have kind of, again, smaller stuff that's more, that's like, pristine format, but it's not like, a huge tome, I really like hardcover. Some of my favorite hardcover releases from DC were, oh boy, what is the name of that series? Justice. That was like a 4-volume thing, and they were really thin hardcovers, and they were super pretty. But as far as books go, I guess I would actually say this. I'd rather own a hardcover to put on the shelf because it's pretty, but I'd actually rather read a paperback just because the way my eyes are, because I have like slight double vision in my left eye. My eye and my eyes don't work well together. I much prefer to have as few of a number of words on a page as possible when I'm reading. It's easier to focus. My eyes can get overwhelmed if I have a huge block of text. So, like, the larger the page is, the slower I am at reading it. Not just because there's more words on a page, but I mean, I actually read it a little bit slower. So, yeah, it's kind of different depending on what I'm, reading and actually owning. Yeah,
How long did it take for you to read Jurassic Park?
I mean, not forever. It's just, and it's more about like just what I'm personally comfortable with than even like the actual. I guess what I'm saying is, I may even be reading at the same speed, but I don't know that I'm committing as much to memory. You know what I mean? Like, I think my retention is better when there's fewer words on a page.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's kind of small print. Like, if it's a large book, I'd rather larger print if I can get it. Just because I have bad eyes, it really is all that's just me personally. This is not interesting to anybody. Okay, Jayson, let me count super chats real quick while you're finding me something else.
I found something else.
Okay, he's on top of it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, hold on.
Your mouse isn't working.
Well, this has hit a wall where, hold on, let me refresh this. You go ahead and give me another question, Jayson.
Okay. William Parcell.
Okay.
If comic books existed in a world that has superhero-y, like Marvel or DC, how do you think those comics would develop and what kind of stories would they tell?
Okay, so if...
So if we were living in a world that had superheroes,
Yeah.
those superheroes were real, how do you think comic books would develop and what kind of stories?
Like comics in that world. Yeah, this is always really interesting. So Watchmen tackles this. Watchmen says, and I haven't let Jayson read this for obvious reasons, but Jayson, in the Watchmen universe, because there's superheroes in the real world, starting around when Batman in comics does. So like the movie says, look, Batman and Superman started in 38 and 39, but after that we didn't keep making superhero comics really because we had real life superheroes, and so that wasn't the popular medium, the popular thing in books that people were reading. And I've heard both sides of this argument, that maybe it actually would develop not the same way, but maybe superheroes would be popular in the same way that cop stuff is popular, because like it is real world, but people would want to read about it because like it's a thing that actually happens and people are interested in it. But in that world, they say superheroes aren't popular. And part of it is because of the government narrative that superheroes are bad also, where you end up with pirate comics taking over instead of superhero comics. What were you going to say?
So I think it would be more like there were no superheroes in comics. It would be more like, kind of like Wayside School, where you would have comics and they would have a world that wouldn't have superheroes.
But what would it be instead? What would be the thing people were all interested in? Would there be that one thing that took over?
It would be, what if the world didn't have superheroes?
What
if it was
interesting.
This world?
Okay, but why would that necessarily need to be in a visual medium? Because that's not immediately like a dynamically visual looking thing. Like, you tell a lot of movies
like... fun.
Okay, so I used to really buy into the Watchmen thing, and I think maybe Alan Moore was onto something there if superheroes are vilified. But forgetting like superhero registration or superheroes being outlawed, would the superheroes be popular in comics? I think so, actually, but I wonder if they would have as many superpowers. I wonder if it wouldn't be more like cop fiction. I wonder if we would get a lot of the fantasy elements out of it. Because if you think about it, we put fantasy elements in everything, but most police stories are like really serious, like attempting to be kind of realistic, or at least make you think that they're realistic. Stories about the police, like what we have, and they don't have a lot of like supernatural elements. Sometimes they do, but I don't know that, we don't tell a lot of stories about cops that can fly. We just turn them into superheroes. So I wonder if we would get more superhero stories that were just guys wearing costumes that couldn't fly and have other superpowers. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's good. That's a great question. Okay. Lots more super chats. We have got to try to blow through these if we can. We got 20 minutes left. Here in about 5 minutes or so, I'm gonna ask for you guys to stop throwing in super chats, because we're gonna have to close up shop here in at least half an hour. We can go a few minutes over maybe. Daddy Longlegs, $20 super chat. Thank you very much. Any chance continuing Marvel Mania, or are you more focused on Rewind? Also, I strongly recommend Doom Patrol and the Umbrella Academy. They're both wonderfully weird and zany character studies about dysfunctional families. Both of those I intend to watch more of. Umbrella Academy I haven't even started yet, but Doom Patrol I've seen the pilot twice and I really like it, or at least I like a lot of things about it. So I have every intention of doing that. It's just finding the time to sit down and watch stuff, and in such a way where I can remember things well enough to review them. That's the kicker when you've got 3 kids and you're running a household. I will, but I want to get to that. I'm just very behind. The answer to any chance of continuing Marvel Mania is no comment. And am I more focused on Rewind? The answer is I will be focused on Rewind a lot more pretty shortly. Not necessarily in relation to that. I'm not going to say anything else about that. And you take that however you want to. But yeah, I have been focusing on a written project right now, a narrative project, and So I want to start getting to rewinds a lot more, especially after I'm finished with that. I may try to go ahead and write one next week if I can find the time. I'm working on stuff for the writing group right now, which meets tomorrow. And then after that, I should have some more evenings during my writing period in the evening that I can devote to that. So anyway, Tom, $5 super chat. We have been watching some cringe movies on Streaming Wars. Yeah, we have. Man, I will never forgive myself for Clock Stoppers. What's the most cringe movie that you've watched on your own? You were the best, Geek. Thanks very much. Wow. Cringiest movie I've ever watched just, like, by myself? Because I think the cringiest movie I've seen in the theater, I wasn't by myself. I went with a friend, so I guess it doesn't count. Well, I mean, besides some stuff when I was a kid, like Flubber, we watched that on After Dark and talked about it. But there's some really bad horror movies in the early 2010s that I ended up seeing in the theater, like The Box and like White Out. Greg Rucka's White Out. I need to actually read that graphic novel at some point and see why that was supposedly good, because that movie was like, ugh. But anyway, I've mentioned that before. What is the cringiest thing you've had to sit through?
I don't know, because most of the movies that I've actually, all the movies except for like 2, I actually liked.
Of what? What are we talking
Just
about?
Movies.
Of just movies? I think
like I like almost all of the movies that I've actually seen.
Okay. I think some of the cringiest stuff I've actually seen have been things I did for Rewind. Obviously, Son of the Mask is way up there. Super Buddies is way up there. Underdog.
No, I don't like that.
Dog movies, a lot of them in general.
Yeah, just dog movies are.
But yeah, I don't know, because a lot of things, if they're like that, if I'm able to, I'll shut them off in 5 minutes.
But Super Buddies you watched with me, so that kind of doesn't count.
Then I watched it by myself after that.
Oh.
I did have to watch that twice.
You had to watch that twice?
Isn't that unfortunate? Yeah, I didn't take notes the first time.
Oh, did you know that that's on Disney Plus?
It is. Yeah, I think a lot of those are.
Yeah.
Maybe that whole catalog. But yeah, and my super ex-girlfriend, like, I think a lot of them are superhero movies. Obviously Catwoman's really cringy. Like, unfortunately, some of the worst movies I've seen have been in that genre.
Well, yeah, there's actually a lot more movies than I thought that I actually didn't like Batman and Robin.
Philip Kelton again. Jayson, do you read comic strips? And webcomics count? Also, are you invested in the expanded universe of a story from a video game or movie series? Okay, so comic strips, he means like comedic comics, like in a newspaper or something. You know what I mean? Like a Garfield or something like that.
Yeah. So most of the things that most of the comic strips that I've actually seen are from the Lego magazines, and those are really, really weird.
Are they not funny at all?
No. But there's just some random Lego guy, and I forgot what his name was, and he sometimes talks with his friend, other random guy, Lego guy, or he pets his random guy Lego cat, or yeah.
Well, that's a special sort of weird. Okay, so, and then the next question, and I'm assuming he's still aiming this at you, Jayson, is, are you invested in the expanded universe of a story from a video game or a movie series?
So what's invested?
Invested? Like do you care about the side stuff that like a main thing is maybe connected to, or maybe not even side stuff, but just like, do you like intercontinuity, I guess is what he's asking. Like,
yeah, I really like expanded universes.
Yeah?
Because I get to put this stuff that I like and then this other stuff that I like and mix it together in some cool way or whatever and have them in the same universe, and that's kind of cool.
So the continuity thing excites you.
Yeah.
Now, you've had that a lot of your life. Like, when I was a kid, a lot of that stuff seemed like a pipe dream that we would never get. And then I grew up, and now it's everywhere. And so, I always wonder how much of a novelty that is for kids your age, because you've had a lot of that your whole life. Like, does it Are you ever surprised by it? Are you ever like, I never thought I'd see these things together?
Whoa.
I don't know what just happened. Hopefully we're still broadcasting. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Okay.
You guys didn't see what we did, but my monitors all just shut off for some reason.
For like 2 seconds.
Yeah. It had something to do with the cord connected to the projector. So let's try not to step on that.
Oh. I think it might be this.
Yeah, it is. So don't touch it. Because I don't want that to happen again. Anyway, so we're good. But yeah. Do you remember my question? Like, how much of a novelty is that for you?
I kind of... Yeah. It's not very much like a novelty. It's kind of just this.
But it's a thing you like.
Yeah. But, like... I like stories in video games. Because I get to play a video game and actually go with, like, what I'm actually doing. So that I actually am, like, have a reason for why I'm playing the video game. Or, like,
interesting. So it's more, so you get more invested if it's interactive.
Yeah, because, like, stuff like Paper Mario. Like, why would I be playing that game if it didn't have a story? I probably wouldn't be, because it wouldn't be very interactive, and it kind of would get boring.
But it's interesting because earlier you video games was kind of like at the end of your list of things that you most like looking at, and yet you just said that you're more invested in a story if you're getting to play it. So I mean, I think that's kind of interesting. It makes me think you just haven't played enough story-driven stuff, because it sounds like you really like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind so you can play more of that kind of thing.
Stuff like Mario 64, that's fun because you have a challenge. You have to get all the stars.
Right.
In something like, Atari games or like Pac-Man, you have nothing to do. And it kind of gets boring after a while.
Okay, let's move on. Azim, $10 super chat. Thanks very much. If we ever get another Hulk film, do you think we'll ever receive a dark, psychologically complex iteration under the terminally hyper-comedic MCU? Not with the current iteration, certainly, especially because for a lot of people that continues to be popular and people like that. There are plenty of people that found Fat Thor funny. And I think there are plenty of people that loved the comedy that we did with that character, both in Ragnarok and in Endgame. I'm not one of them. I think that's a misstep. I love that actor's portrayal of that character in Avengers and in Age of Ultron. And I think we goofified him and made it too much, especially in Ragnarok, about improv comedy and stuff. And that's not what I want from that character. But it doesn't matter what I want, because it worked for a lot of people and did not hurt those movies at all at the box office. So no, I don't expect that. It will be really interesting to see if the She-Hulk series actually happens, which is apparently supposed to get made. How much of that kind of thing happens there? She tends to be a comedic character. I don't think always, but has been. So I mean, I would figure that's part of the reason we went there, is because we've been doing a comedic Hulk. So it doesn't sound like that's the direction we're wanting to go with that. Obviously, I would love to see that. And I would love to see that be a Disney Plus or Hulu thing, if we can do a kind of darker, more psychologically complex Hulk. I mean, certainly that's what I want. I want something closer to Peter David, but there's no reason to assume that after the bazillion dollar success that Endgame was, that we'll get that anytime soon. Tom, $20 super chat. Thank you so much, man. Which would you prefer to be subjected to? I love these. Watching My Super Ex-Girlfriend for 24/7, or watching Batman and Harley Quinn for 24/7. You're the best dad on YouTube. You're like a Pixar dad. I don't know how to take like a Pixar dad, but thank you very much. I look like I'm an uncanny valley dad. I look mostly real, but if you look really close, you can tell that I'm not, that I'm in. No, actually, if I was a Pixar dad, I would just be very animated, but still 3D. Anyway, oh boy, probably Batman Harley Quinn, even though I absolutely detest that. I still think it's probably a better movie than My Super Ex-Girlfriend. God, do I hate that.
What's Super Ex-Girlfriend?
Because at least, well, you know what, though? Those are really good. That's a really good comparison. So, My Super Ex-Girlfriend is a superhero comedy from the mid-2000s that is about a guy dating a superhero chick who has kind of Superman powers, and she's, like, really mentally unstable and a crazy person, and her name is G-Girl, and I don't know why, except there's probably a raunchy explanation, which I can't talk about right now because I have a kid sitting next to me. But anyway, that's a good comparison because they're both unnecessarily raunchy and not in an actual funny way. So yeah, that is a tough call. I guess I'm gonna say Batman and Harley Quinn, but I still think I would rather be, as Thrakkerzog said in The Tick, strained through a chain link fence. Okay, let's go to Connor Nielsen, 499 Super Chat. Hey, Cap and Jayson. Hope you're doing well. What movie/comic/story, I wanted that to keep going, of any kind, was the biggest turnaround from not liking it to really liking it? Do you have one? Connor likes to hit me with the hard ones. So, a story that you were really not liking, and then were surprised by how much you liked it by the end. That really turned you around on it. You know, the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm not finished, this is probably not my definitive example, but the first thing that comes to mind anyway, and I've not finished it, is it Nick Spencer? I'm not sure if I'm right about that. The second run of Darth Vader in Marvel that is directly after Revenge of the Sith. Boy, did I hate that first issue and never wanted to have to read that again. And then somebody requested it, and I revisited it, and I ended up liking that first arc so much I couldn't wait to read the next arc. And I didn't end up doing that for whatever reason. I guess I was busy, but I'm still very curious to see where that goes. I ended up really liking that by the end. So there's an example. I'll try to think of another one or two good ones. Do you have anything like that?
But no.
Where you're like, oh, this sucks, and oh, this does not suck.
I mean,
I have this so much more often the other direction, obviously. You know, where you start with the thing and it seems okay, and then then it really loses you. Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't have anything right away?
I love how every time, like, I love that microphone thing in the corner where I'm like, it just goes up there.
Well, nobody can see our sliders, Jayson.
I know, but it's funny.
Sliders. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything like this really in Star Trek. I mean, my movie go-to is, you know, I've said this 1,000 times, is Fight Club. Could not get into that movie, could not get with it. It's not one of my absolute favorite movies. And a lot of my favorite movies end up being things that I was not sure about as I was watching them and had to really think about them and give them some time.
I think there might have been like a Marvel movie that I was just like, I don't really like this.
You know, I'll also throw the Batman at you. I've turned around real hard on that.
The Batman?
Yeah, the TV show. I used to hate that.
Really?
I've been enjoying it.
I've always liked that. Probably.
Well, I wasn't young enough when I started it.
Incredible Hulk.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, sure.
I didn't really like that, and then the big fight scene, and I was just like, what?
No, that's great. Okay, Azim, $20 super chat. What media format would be the best for a revival of old school pulp superhero adaptations, Zorro, Green Hornet, etc.? That's great. So I'm going to say a crazy off the beaten path thing for a minute and say that audio dramas have been coming back in a big way lately, and I have not been listening to any of them, but I should be. Audible is very popular, and I think some studios have taken notice of that, or some publishers, and started trying various things. I know that Neil Gaiman's Sandman is getting an adaptation in audio form, or maybe an original. I think it's an original story set in that universe. I think that's what it is. With what's his name? One of my favorite actors, and it's just not coming to me right now. X-Men in the newer X-Men movie, or excuse me, Professor X in the newer X-Men movies. he is voicing in that, which is really cool. But yeah, like that's where the Shadow starts. It would be cool to see that kind of thing done again. I mean, that's kind of the in a way, it's the obvious example. It's the obvious answer. But I think we're in a place now where we actually could do that and somebody would listen to it. I think a few years ago, you'd be hard pressed to get anybody to actually McAvoy. Just finally came to me. James McAvoy is voicing in that. So I mean, real like major A-list actors doing stuff like that. So I mean, that's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is certainly cinema. There still is the great Shadow movie to be made. There's still a great Green Hornet movie to be made. You could do great stuff with Rocketeer, even though that original movie is brilliant. I've always wanted a Phantom. I've talked about this before. I've always wanted a Phantom trilogy that starts with a period Phantom in the 30s or 40s, and then does a modern day Phantom, and then does a futuristic Phantom, all played by the same actor, but each of them is like a Kit Walker, and then his kid, and then his kid. I've always wanted to see that. But I think that with the Shadow in particular, and also Green Hornet,
that's what I was gonna say.
I think with the Shadow and Green Hornet, you need to stay period. And the talk right now is that the Shadow is going to do a movie again finally at some point, and it's going to be present day. And I don't know why you do that or why anybody would care about that. I think you have to keep it as noirish as possible. I mean, the people that would be interested in that are interested in that period and in the pulpiness of it, and do not need an update in that way. So, yeah, that's my answer. You like Shadow a lot.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched or heard any of Shadow.
Because you used to listen to the radio show some.
Mm-hmm.
You should get those out. Jayson had some old cassettes for them.
And I have CDs.
Oh, do you really?
Yes. That's how I actually watched most of my Shadow.
Or listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think. Because when did I get that? Because I got that for my birthday. But I don't know if it was my 6th birthday or not.
John Ty, $5 super chat. I love this. This may be my favorite question of the evening. If you could create an Olympic sport, what would it be? Are you ready? Are you ready? Comic bagging. Just how fast can you get them in there? There needs to be a Guinness World Record for that, right? Like most comics put in a Mylar bag in 60 seconds or 10 minutes or whatever it is. Do you have an answer? What Olympic sport would you make?
I would make either a staring contest in the snow.
In the snow? Why the snow?
Because it's Olympic.
Well, yeah, Winter Olympics then.
Yeah, Winter Olympics.
You realize it's not all winter, right?
I thought Olympics was just winter.
You haven't seen any Summer Olympics?
No.
Summer Olympics is with all the track and field and stuff. And basketball. And...
Okay, I know what it is then.
Don't say basketball. They already have that.
You're right. A falling down contest.
Olympic falling down.
So, falling down contest. So basically, you have to get the other person to fall down before the other person.
How about the sport from Alita Battle Angel?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's pretty dangerous, but what is it, motorball?
Yes. No,
also referred to as murder ball.
I want that. Also.
Yeah.
Faceball.
Faceball? What, that Super Nintendo game? That god-awful Super Nintendo game? Azim, $4.99 Super Chat. Thank you. I, too, am super anxious about the precarious future of the entertainment industry. The eventual extinction of movie theaters will break my heart. Yeah. I'm so torn about it. And I've talked about this before, so I don't want to be a broken record, and I won't talk about this for too long. But thanks for the Super Chat, and I want to give it its due. For me, I'm more anxious about just how up in the air everything is and not knowing what kind of quality of entertainment we're going to be getting in moving down the road than I am about the extinction of movie theaters as the main way that movies are seen, because or like seen, initially to drive the industry, right? Like, I want movie theaters to be a place that can show whatever they want to, and if I can see a thing the first time at a theater, that's great, but if I don't care about seeing it in the theater, I can also just stay home and watch it. That's also great. Like, I don't need the old model. I don't want movie theaters themselves to go away. I want to be able to go and have the experience of seeing a thing on a big screen. But I want the future. I'm going to say I want, not this is what I think is necessarily going to happen, because I don't. Like, I think necessarily. I think the middleman could get cut out, and I think that that could be, let me say this real quick, really good for creativity and for the variety of things. Right now, the only movies people seem to go to tend to be the really watered down safe stuff, and we're gonna make, just like we've had since we went to streaming over everything being broadcast, a lot more projects that really take risks and that really try stuff and really get adventurous and get ambitious and try to move needles and push envelopes storytelling wise, and that's really difficult to do when you have to throw an obscene amount of money at a thing just to get people to go to a theater to see it. A lot of the best stuff being made before the pandemic wasn't really going to very many movie theaters, so I've always said that that model was already on its way out, and maybe Hollywood itself was going to kind of crumble at some point or kind of turn into something else. But what I want to see is what happened with El Camino. I want stuff like that where I can pay to go see it in the theater, like the same day it comes out on Netflix. That's what I did there. And yeah, there were some people that got to watch it at home before I went, but that's not any different than somebody might get to a show before I did. Like, wouldn't it be great if you had the option for a lot of stuff? So yeah, I don't want movie theaters to go away, but I'm perfectly comfortable potentially, depending on what the models end up being like and how much stuff costs and stuff. I mean, I'm concerned about that. Again, this $30 thing that Disney is doing, I don't want that to be the model, especially on top of a streaming service you're already paying for. But variety is always good. And I don't know, I love the option to be able to see a thing even brand new in a theater. But I also get more excited these days about going to the theater to see a thing that I already know really well, but I never got to see in the theater in the first place. That excites me a lot more. A lot of things that I see, I don't really need to see on the big screen necessarily, except for those really big blockbuster things. Like a lot of those things, I do want to go see on a big screen, but I don't have any problem with just having the option, because there's a lot of people that don't feel that way. Some people, I don't understand this, but some people don't need to see John Wick on the big screen. And to be like, well, they really should, so you need to try to force them to go to the thing. Well, you're not going to do that, though. Delayed gratification for a lot of those people. They'll just wait the 3-6 months and get it on video and watch it that way anyway. So, like, why not have the option if it was financially viable? I don't know that it is, but I'm just saying that my personal pipe dream future would be that. Thank you so much for the super chat. John Ty, $5 super chat. How much change is too much change in comics for the big two? I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, are we talking about format still? Print format, like how we're putting the books out, or are we talking about what we do with the characters themselves? By the way, we are right at 2 hours. We're gonna have to go ahead and stop pretty soon, and I still see a few super chats. So I'm gonna ask you guys if you would not to turn in any more super chats. Thanks a bunch, because we're not gonna have time to get to them. So I'm gonna finish these up. Maybe we'll do one more pre-written to not fully shaft that. So Jayson, find me another great question. Just see what's in there. See if there's something really awesome. But we're gonna have to get going pretty soon. Thanks a bunch, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate the turnout. And Jayson, have you had a good time?
Yeah.
You have been doing a remarkable job. I really appreciate you, buddy.
People are just trying to figure out what they want for Olympics. People are wanting MMA. People are wanting.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
We
went with mostly joke answers.
Yeah, DJ says the game from Road to El Dorado.
Oh, yeah, I don't know
Played
about
with
that.
a live armadillo.
Oh, hi, DJ. Is DJ watching the show right now?
Yes,
Hi, DJ.
in the hospital.
Wow. I hope
Let's
everything's
see.
going well, man.
Cinematographic, I did not catch it. Can you send that again?
What now?
He just says, he asked a Spider-Man question.
Oh,
and
I see.
Didn't see it.
Okay. All right. So, how much change is too much change in comics for the big two? Yeah, man, that is so hard to answer. It's so broad, and I mean, like, it just seems like things are going to change a lot, and I cannot begin to predict exactly what it's going to look like. As far as actual print format goes, as far as just keeping comics going, I don't think you can change too much. That may be a really divisive statement, but like, I don't want to see comics ever go like fully digital and not have print or anything. But right up to, that's where I draw the line. Like right up to we don't print at all anymore. Going fully trade or fully graphic novel, not having monthly or not having much in the way of monthly. The sweet spot, I think, is we do digital singles and then we collect things after that in print, but of course still making the trades available to read digitally. I think that could be the future, or some combination of that with graphic novels. I don't know that you can have too much change as far as that side of it goes. As far as characters go, you cannot get too far away from the characters that are really popular. We have tried to do that a lot, and it has failed. People just want their Batman and Superman. People want their Spider-Man, and this is not even just a generational thing. I don't think. I think a lot of people growing up their kids with comics, they're interested in a lot of the same characters. So we can keep. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't want new characters, and we can keep introducing characters that will hopefully eventually become iconic, but you cannot have this extreme thing where you try to wipe the slate clean and go, it's about mantles, not about characters. People don't care about a lot of these characters that end up feeling really generic, just because they're new people we haven't seen before. We're not doing the same thing that we were, or we've got more variety, we've got more diversity now. Like, yeah, that's great, I would love to see that too, but it's gotta be with characters that actually are compelling and that speak to people. You have to do both of those things, and it's just gonna take time. You can't just drop a whole bunch of, new random characters on us and go, well, see, you're supposed to not want to just read about all those old guys that we've read about forever and that aren't, progressive enough for a lot of people's taste, and try to guilt trip people into liking things that aren't speaking to them. It just doesn't work that way. I think you can create new iconic characters, but I think it takes time, and I think you got to keep being experimental and trying stuff and sprinkle stuff in with what you have already. So that's where it's too much change, is just trying to completely wipe the slate clean. But I'm not saying a full-on reboot is necessarily a bad idea. I wish that's what we'd done with 52, at least with DC. Okay, how many more super chats do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Jayson, would you try to find that John Ty super chat at the bottom? Just the last super chat, because my screen's not showing it.
Yeah.
Hawk Flame, thank you. $10 super chat. What superhero property would you most like to be made into a video game, and what would your take be? Well, people always talk about Superman and whether or not that's possible. I have still never figured out what I would think would be the definitive, Superman game. I mean, it's really easy for me to say Death of Superman in a 3D, epic, like, AAA kind of game. I want to think that could be really cool. I still don't entirely know what you do with it, but I think that could be the way to finally do a really cool Superman game. But the actual superhero property that I would really want to be made into a video game, I've answered this before. I think I said the Tick before. That's kind of the obvious thing to say. I think the Great Powerpuff Girls game was never made. I don't know that anybody would care to do that now, but that hasn't really happened.
I mean, they made like 10,000 games, and
back in the day,
still not like a good one.
Do you have do you have an answer to this? Like a superhero that hasn't gotten like a great game? I think there's still probably a great modern X-Men game to be made.
Yeah. I think there would maybe be a good Doctor Strange game.
Interesting. Yeah, that's actually a really cool idea. What would you do with it?
Well, you would have to go find, like, all the places and put them back or something.
Oh, it would be like a mixed up multiverse or mixed up...
Yeah, or like, it would be either like an action puzzle game, maybe.
That's a cool idea. I think Doctor Strange would be really good as an RPG, too.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, I'm seeing more super chats. I asked folks to stop throwing those in, but I really appreciate them, certainly. I mean, that's amazing. Thank you. We will try to run through these very quickly. Jayson, did you find that great pre-written question?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, let's do that real quick.
Okay. Cinematographic.
Cinnamon graphic.
Synonym graphic. Ha! Would Maguire's Spider-Man be...
That's Maguire. Maguire.
Would Maguire's Spider-Man be as violent as he is, if at all, if his uncle had left well enough alone and stayed home instead of driving him to the library? He seemed to have taken the wrong lessons from his uncle's death.
I agree as far as that particular movie goes. And I don't think that movie realized... Well, it's weird. I've always said this. It's so odd, because in some ways it seems like that movie doesn't realize that he is kind of really close to a murderer. Like, he just gets lucky that the situation is as it is. Like, he does seem to kind of maybe push the burglar to his death, or it's very suspicious. The way that's shot, it's really hard. And just the way he's looking after he falls, it's like, yeah, I'm glad you're dead. And now, with great power comes great responsibility. Post my getting revenge. So yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know if he took the wrong lessons from Uncle Ben. It's almost more like that happens because it looks all edgy, and then they kind of ignore it. I don't know. It reads more that way to me until you get to 3 and we start talking about it again. Somebody got really self-aware about that, where it's like, oh yeah, he does seem really morally ambiguous in that scene, doesn't he? And I don't know. It's just an awkward scene. Like, the idea that guy might trip and as Peter Parker claims happen, like he trips, he falls, Peter wouldn't have been able to get to him in time, or maybe like in that split second didn't help him, but like it was a split second, so he didn't have time to choose, and then he's standing there and like he's maybe conflicted, but the main emotion coming over him is, you deserved that. Like, I mean, I can sympathize with that, certainly, or empathize. Is the right word sympathize there, or empathize? I think empathize. So I can see why he feels that way. But would he be less violent if Uncle Ben hadn't driven him there? Well, yeah, but only because those events wouldn't have unfolded. Not because Ben didn't give him that speech. If Ben hadn't given him that speech, he might have, after that, then gone down the much darker path where he can't stop being morally ambiguous and actually, killing the bad guys as opposed to stringing them up from light poles. So, good question. John Ty, $5 super chat. What is a surprisingly good kids movie or show that you thought was going to be boring? My
Maleficent.
answer. You're done. You're out. Get out. You like Maleficent?
No, I've never seen Maleficent.
Okay.
But that was a joke.
Let's. No. Okay. My real answer is Goosebumps.
Really? You thought that was going to be boring?
I thought it was going to be generic and not worth seeing. I thought it was going to be what the sequel was, because the sequel is that. It's not good, and I was kind of bored to tears. But that first movie was oddly kind of creative and fun to watch.
I need to see both of them again, because it's been a while.
Doesn't blow your mind or nothing, but yeah, that's the immediate answer that comes to my mind for that.
I remember liking the second one, though.
Tom, $5 super chat. With video game and movie companies trying to cut out the middleman, are we looking at a shift at how companies do business with customers? Hashtag free Fortnite. Tom's a Fortnite guy. With video game and movie companies trying to cut out the middleman, are we looking at a shift? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't really have a lot to add to that, because we've been kind of talking about that all night, right? That a lot of companies are starting to see some viability in giving their stuff directly to customers and try to sell right to customers. Now, the streaming wars thing is not over. We've just scratched the surface, I think, of that. Like, people are not going to ultimately put up with having to pay what they used to pay for cable. I mean, this is the reason that so many people cord cut in order to get so many different services. And so at some point, there's going to have to be either something else besides the streaming model. Maybe, I don't expect this to happen, but maybe suddenly people get more interested in home video again because they realize that the Netflix promise was not possible and was never going to happen. A lot of people still are subscribing to streaming services hoping that someday everything will be there and you won't need to own anything. And we're not seeing people flock back to stores to buy, hard copies of things yet. I say yet. I mean, I don't expect that to happen. But then at the same time, people are clearly frustrated about stuff, entering in and out constantly of the streaming services and not having constant access to things that they want access to, and having to pay an arm and a leg for access to what they can get access to, and just these contracts shifting all the time. Jayson has found something funny. And that's just one example. I realize that, we've been talking about comics also, and there are other industries that have this, and video games is another thing I could delve into that I won't right now because I don't have time. But yeah, clearly there's a shift, and I can't tell you what the end game of that whole thing is going to be. But I do think it's going to take longer than probably any transition like this that we've seen in the past. It's gonna take longer than when we had the kind of the whole Blu-ray HD DVD thing didn't take very long, but I'm thinking of things like just other shifts in media, like beta and VHS and that kind of thing. Like, this is We've had streaming for quite a while now, and it seemed more stable when Hulu was able to basically play all the TV shows that nobody else had access to. And once that ended, it seemed like it feels less like a war and more like a Cold War to me. It's just like, how long is this going to go? Okay, what is so funny?
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
Robert Wild.
Yeah.
Cap, are you wearing hockey pads?
I'm not wearing hockey pads. That's the difference between me and you. Except you're probably also not wearing hockey pads. But I'm not wearing hockey pads. Okay, do you remember that? You remember that from Dark Knight? That's what he's quoting.
Oh, yeah.
The beginning of Dark Knight. When you got the copycat Batmans. And he's like, I don't understand. What's the difference between me and you? I'm not wearing hockey pads. Okay, John Ty, $5 super chat. Should comic book creators be on par with screenwriters? In that people should recognize them as good and real writers more? Yeah, absolutely. And they also should get hired to write movies more often. Absolutely. Okay. We are just way past time, so I'm sorry that I've got to blow through these because these are some bigger super chats. Daddy Longlegs, $20 super chat. Thanks so much. The problem isn't theaters, and I don't see how getting rid of them does anything for creativity. There's plenty of great, less conventional movies that no one goes to see, like Upgrade, Arrival, and Blade Runner 2049. But I think you've hit it is the thing. Nobody goes to see them. So you'd get more of those kinds of things if they were profitable, and there are a lot of really good movies that get made that don't go to theaters, that don't have wide releases, that a lot of people don't end up seeing and ever finding out about. And I think that if movie theaters where people aren't going to see those things, like I really think that there's a bunch of stuff that would get made if people weren't trying to get them in theaters, if streaming services and that kind of thing was the main way we were going. I mean, the thing is, they're already throwing money at a lot of stuff. I mean, that's true, but I don't know. I just think you'd have a better variety, right? Like, I think you'd get less of the trash that gets put out in the theater just to attempt to get butts in seats that's not any good. I don't know. I just disagree with you. I think it would do quite a bit for creativity in exactly the same way that happened with television. There's so much better TV than there ever used to be once we stopped putting everything on broadcast, and I think this is an equivalent. I think theaters versus direct to home video, but not direct to video in that way. Not like it was when I was a kid, but actual quality movies that people are making. And also, there's really good like this is a thing that I've heard some of the big heralded lauded older directors talk about, guys like Scorsese, who Scorsese can't get movies wide release in theaters because nobody wants to see them, and it's Scorsese. And so if that's not the predominant way that people are seeing movies, I think at the very, he's still getting to make movies, but at the very least, I think people hear about them more, because they don't get, because there's still this idea that if it's in a movie theater and wide release, somehow it is more viable and more important than these smaller movies that a lot of people don't go and see. I don't know. I don't like that. And so I just think that there could be a positive aspect to this, if that ends up happening. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There are good movies that get made, but that nobody sees. But once nobody sees them, then do those same directors that are making those kinds of movies get money to make more movies like them? The guy who made 2049 is making Dune, but if that's not successful, I don't know if he gets to keep making movies like that. And also, you've got too many directors that have been, and probably writers too, but you've got too many directors that have been making great, more underground projects, and then they get picked up to do, a huge big budget movie that bombs at the box office, and then we don't see them for a long time. They're not getting projects. That's a problem. And a lot of them aren't going back and making some of the cool projects that they made before. They end up getting in a creative slump, like the guy who made Moon. If he hadn't made Warcraft, maybe his career is in better shape after that. Okay, Jayson, would you read that super chat from Tom? Because it's not showing up on my screen.
Yeah, it's the last super chat.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tom. Really appreciate you, buddy.
Okay.
And once again, thanks to everybody for hanging out and staying as long as you have. I didn't plan on going this long. I know I end up saying that a lot, but we had a lot of super chats tonight, and I wanted to make sure and give them all their due. Okay, go ahead.
We'll be quick. T-Edge1, $50 super chat.
Yeah. No
question, this is just a super chat for a super person.
Oh man, well thank you. Goodness, you don't have to do that. I don't know what to say to that, but you're amazing, and I really appreciate that. Azim, looks like I'm $50 in the hole, fellas. Congrats, Tom. Please donate my money to charity or something. I will definitely look into that. Okay, so it looks like Tom has probably won the night, and that means that Tom, and I mean, that's super cool of you, man. Thanks a whole bunch. Everybody who put in super chats, and also everybody who just came by and watched and asked questions. As always, I'm sorry we didn't get to more pre-written. It is with this whole super chat thing, it's very difficult to balance that. I got to make sure that those get read, but I tried to do as many as we could. So anyway, okay. So Tom gets to pick the thing that Jayson and I talk about together. Tom, please be kind. Please be kind. Okay, so Tom, feel free to go ahead and put it in now if you have the thing that you want us to talk about, and you don't have to leave it as a super chat. We'll see it. Or if you don't know yet, you can just message me privately later on about that. We will wait just a second and see what Tom says. And in the meantime, once again, you guys are wonderful. Thanks a bunch. Jayson, thanks for being patient with me and sticking around so long. I know a lot of the show is just me talking, because this is the show. It's the Captain Logan.
It's the Captain Logan show, not the Jayson Tobias show.
Ooh, that actually has a nice ring to it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's Jason's middle name, is Tobias. So
I am a hawk.
Jayson is both a Power Ranger and an Animorph.
Yes.
So when you said Jayson Tobias show, were you trying to get it in the same syllable count as Captain Logan?
No.
Because it's actually one more syllable count, so it's not quite that, but like you had to make it a little bit longer so that it, sounded good like that. AMC Comics, when is the next Batmosphere? We were supposed to do one last week, and it fell through because Dan's and I couldn't line our schedules up, so hopefully in the next couple weeks. We were talking about trying to do one the Sunday right after DC Fandom, which I didn't bring up earlier, but that's going to be weird, right? Like, they didn't expect Layoffs 2 weeks before Fandom happens, and it'll be interesting to see how much of the stuff they talk about in that gets kind of eclipsed by those announcements, because I mean, they're going to make a big deal out of here's all these cool DC things we're doing, while meanwhile AT&T is shrinking them. So that's going to be awkward. Okay, Tom, either you and Jason's favorite film to watch together, or a film you have been meaning to show Jason. Oh, he's not picking a specific title. He wants us to pick it, but within those categories.
Let's see.
Okay, so we're not going to announce it tonight, probably. We're probably going to spend some time talking about it.
Yeah, that's...
And I'm sorry that you guys aren't going to probably know what it is tonight. I mean, what would you say is our favorite film to watch together? Because I don't know that... I mean, we tend to watch things that you haven't seen yet, right?
Yeah. Because we don't watch stuff, like, all the time.
I would have at one time said Lego Movie, but you and I did a commentary on that.
We did?
Yeah, quite a while back.
Wow.
Okay. You don't even remember.
So...
Tom, that is really neat of you, man. Thanks very much. Or something I've been meaning to show Jason. Okay, I got to think about it. I don't right off know what that is.
BVS.
That would be funny, but I mean, I've done a lot of content on BVS. I bet people would enjoy seeing your reaction to that, though. The 10-year-old response to BVS. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the 10-year-old response to BVS? And I'll do very little of the talking.
No.
No, you don't do that?
I want to do a commentary on it.
We've already done a commentary on that, and eventually there will... Well, I was going to say there might be another one. I actually don't know, because I think we have two. No, there won't be another BVS commentary. But that is a hilarious notion.
Yeah.
I would love to know what people think about that. Robert Wild, have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender yet? I have not, but...
If you want to, we can watch it together.
I know you've been watching it, yeah, but then, how many episodes and stuff. DJ has started watching it, though.
Yes, he's
Certainly.
5 episodes in. How do I know all this stuff about DJ? I've been watching it in my tablet.
Matale review the Snyder Cut with Jason. Yeah, but then we'd have to wait until 2021, and that's going to be probably kind of a hard R. Well, I guess I don't know. AMC Comics says the Ultimate Edition is rated R, but it's not that bad. Yeah, it's not. I would let Jason watch that with me while we're watching it together. Probably not Suicide Squad. But that I probably would.
Let's review The Matrix.
We just did a video on that like 6 months ago, me and DJ. Oh. And we're doing commentaries, me and Eric. So, yeah. But somebody else said something. Oh, Mutale. Will Jason mod the show on Tuesday? And then DJ says, "Are you creeping on me, Jason?" If DJ is not around and able to do it, this has gone really well. Jason, I mean this. You've done a spectacular job. You've really helped the thing keep going, so thank you. So, yeah, that could happen. Although, we would have to start it a little bit later because I think... Well, do you have dance next week? Okay, I don't know what our schedules are like, but yeah. So if DJ can't make it, Jason would be my first choice because he's doing a great job. So yeah, it's awesome. We may do. Oh, that's interesting. Mutale says do a commentary on Sonic with Jason, and people really like that movie, and I didn't care for it. So we could do that. I would probably want to watch it again, or maybe I'd give you like my second impression while we do it because I've only seen it once. Okay, we will consider that. Connor, Jason, you did great in a 2.5-hour show. That's nuts. Way to stay strong. Yeah, I'm really sorry for keeping you for as long as we did. But this was a surprisingly big show. So you guys are wonderful. Thanks a bunch for making that happen. And Robert Wild calls you the MVP of Geekvolution.
What's the VP
Most
part?
Valuable player.
Oh, I thought the M was the mod.
The mod valuable player. James, is Sonic a superhero movie? It's formatted very much like one, certainly. Daniel, Jason was terrific, a true, strong believer. DJ thinks he's being replaced now.
I am creeping on you, so.
DJ, thanks for tuning in a little bit, man. It's weird to see you on the other side of this again. AMC Comics, real quick. Cap and Jayson, did you hear about the new Bruce Timm Batman animated film? I heard there was something. I don't know what it is. I need to look into that. And then Robert Wild says, sorry, DJ, it's nothing personal. It's just business. AMC Comics says that you held down the fort. Mutali says Jayson is the best. Okay, right here, right now, because we have a couple of options, and then we're going to go ahead and finally get going. Jayson, I'm going to give you the pick. Are we going to do a response where you do most of the talking for BVS? Or are we going to do a commentary on the Sonic movie? Which would probably be a live commentary if we did that.
I want to do a live commentary on the Sonic movie.
Oh, I want to do BVS. I know you still want to see BVS.
Yeah.
We could do both. We may end up doing both. Eventually.
We could. Because maybe... Wait. Would we want to do the BVS thing on this channel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, I know you'd probably love to make that video on your channel.
I've been doing a bunch of... Because every bad Batman movie I watch, I have to do a review on it on my channel.
Well, it's weird, though, because of the whole COPPA thing. So, some of those I haven't even posted on your channel. I just put them on Facebook where people can actually find them.
Yeah.
So that becomes a thing. I hope we don't get hit with the COPPA thing here, but I'm taking the risk because Jayson's great. He's really good at this. And this video's not for kids, okay? It has a kid. It's not for kids, okay? All right? Should I swear just so that... No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Where's the creepy bear?
The creepy bear? Oh, we're not... The creepy bear is the way that you can go. It's not kid friendly. Look, this bear got murdered with popsicle sticks, okay? It's, yeah, we don't... It's not close enough to go get it, but you're right. We should always... Whenever you're on camera, it should be right behind us. Yeah. All right. You guys are great. I'm going to get going. We're both going to get going. It's your bedtime, Jayson. It's like the Elmo HBO show. It's now your bedtime. You have to stop doing your live show.
That's actually good.
It seems surprisingly funny. Yeah. All right. Dwan Patterson Power says, just say damn. Done. All right, everybody. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan.
That was me.
And we'll see you later, everybody. Oh, boy. Bye.